Melbourne town where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind. He's the Aussie overlawd, he'll fight for your rights, and he's got his own channel shining bright. From the courtroom to the web, he's got it all, sharing legal knowledge, answering the call. He breaks it down in a language we all understand. The Aussie overlawd taking a stand. With his Aussie charm and his legal know-how, he's the hero we need, showing us how. He fights for justice, no case too tough. The Aussie overlawd, he's more than enough. He's more than enough. In Melbourne town where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind. He's the Aussie overlawd, he'll fight for your rights, and he's got his own channel shining bright. From the courtroom to the web, he's got it all, sharing legal knowledge, answering the call. He breaks it down in a language we all understand. The Aussie overlawd taking a stand. With his Aussie charm and his legal know-how, he's the hero we need, showing us how. He fights for justice, no case too tough. The Aussie overlawd, he's more than enough.
And good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to today's episode of To Be Advised, which is going to be part 3 of our deep dive into the Sandra Birchmore case, because as it turns out, messing around with corruption in the Canton, Stoughton area, Boston area police force can eventually result in the feds being involved. Who would have been shocked by that? As it turns out, Matthew Farwell, one of the individuals alleged to have been, and I say alleged because I have to, alleged to have been involved in the grooming of Sandra Birchmore prior to her death, has been taken into police custody using a SWAT team of all things, which I found interesting. Now, I'll be perfectly honest, I was somehow this case got more horrific in the details. Yes, fair warning, people. As you can see from the bar down the bottom, this one has a massive trigger warning because I've only seen bits and pieces of it, but the FBI's affidavit is extremely graphic. I have turned off monetization on this one. Thank you very much, Jason, for the 10 memberships. Makes it significantly easier for me. Demise works. Thank you. So what we're going to do is I'm going to read through a couple of the news articles so we can see how the mainstream media is taking it. Then we're going to watch the FBI's conference. Are you right? Get the hell out of me then. Runkle actually choked up reading part of it. Well, yeah, I mean, look, Ian streamed it for like 6 hours or so. And I have no idea if this is going to be quite such a long-haul flight, but given all the details, I think it's important. We'll be going through the indictment, the affidavit, a few other documents. What'd she do? Nothing. She made a weird noise and it scared the hell out of me. This is what happens when I, focus. So let's get stuck into it. I'm not even going to bother with the intro today because I feel like this one's a little bit too important. So, pregnant police volunteer Sandra Birchmore was murdered by a detective who staged her death to look like a suicide, according to the feds. Massachusetts cop has been accused of murdering a pregnant 23-year-old he allegedly began sexually abusing when she was just 15 years old as a volunteer in his police department. You read it without censoring any of the words, so it was even tougher. Sometimes you really got to feel sorry for the elf, because I'm not sure how he would have handled that. Matthew Farwell, formerly of the Stoughton Police Department, was indicted for allegedly strangling Sandra Birchmore in her Canton apartment in February 21, and then staging the scene to make it appear as if she'd committed suicide. Yes, I too will not be censoring anything out of this. Like I said, trigger warning, and fingers crossed I don't get any sort of strike from YouTube for this, because this is fairly important. Birchmore was 3 months pregnant at the time of her death and had recently informed Farwell that she thought he was the father. I will say it's very annoying that it seems like this is the only half-decent photo of Farwell, and it's such low resolution that I couldn't even use it in the thumbnail. I was very annoyed by that. She was just 13 years old when she met Farwell in 2010 while serving in the Stoughton Police Department's youth program called the Explorers. After her death, an internal police probe determined that Farwell began abusing her when he was 27 and she was 15. I love how they've phrased that, because the original internal investigation found no wrongdoing. And we all know why that was, but we're going to get to that in a minute. After her death, he denied the allegations but acknowledged having sex with her when she was over the Massachusetts 16-year-old age of consent, according to the Boston Globe. Farwell is one of 3 members of the police force of the police department accused of molesting her. His brother, William Farwell, along with Robert Devine, were all accused of in a wrongful death suit brought by Birchmore's family. If you want a deep dive into that, see the previous part. I will need to put this into a playlist. All 3 cops resigned from the department in 22, but until now, no criminal charges have been brought against them. That's a bit of a stretch, New York Post. Maybe do your research as to when people were decertified and crap like that. Farwell was the last person known to have seen Birchmore alive. Just 3 days before her body was discovered, surveillance footage from her lobby showed him arriving with a hood over his face and then leaving alone sometime later. The indictment charges Farwell with killing Birchmore with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation. Now, what did I do with... I might have actually closed it. That's annoying. I did actually pull up the footage of him entering the apartment, but I think we can probably move on. Former Stoughton police officer charged with killing Sandra Birchmore while she was pregnant. Former Stoughton, Massachusetts police detective Matthew Farwell has been accused of killing 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore in 2021 while she was pregnant with what she told him was his child. A grand jury indictment filed on Tuesday in the federal court alleges that Farwell strangled Birchmore to death inside her Canton apartment and then staged the scene to make it look like she died by suicide. Her death had previously been ruled a suicide with no foul play involved by the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. Which is why it's always good to get a second opinion, especially when you get Dr. Barden in. The indictment alleges that Farwell engaged in sexual intercourse and other sex acts with Birchmore before she turned 16 years of age. Birchmore had joined a youth program for kids interested in law enforcement careers called the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy in 2012, and Farwell was a volunteer instructor at the academy. Federal prosecutors allege that Farwell used his authority and access to groom, sexually exploit, and ultimately sexually abuse Birchmore when she was 15 years old and continued to have sex with her until she became an adult. He was 27 years old at the time of the first alleged assault. There's a word for that? Yes, there is. And hey, I'm demonetized anyway, so at least on this stream. He was a pedophile, allegedly. During some of the shifts when Farwell was supposed to be performing his duties as a Stoughton police officer, he was instead engaging in sex acts with Birchmore, the indictment stated. Birchmore told Farwell that he was the father of the child after learning she was pregnant in December 2020. A friend of hers called the police department in or about at January 21 and reported that Farwell had been having sex with Birchmore. An employee of the police department told Farwell about the call, and days later, Birchmore was found dead on February 4, 2021. When it became clear that Mr. Farwell could no longer control Sandra Birchmore, he allegedly silenced her permanently. Acting U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts Joshua Levy said at a press conference he allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder, and he almost did until today. An affidavit filed by the FBI Special Agent Chennai Castruita details the victim's final days and says the evidence suggests Farwell was making a plan to kill Birchmore. Birchmore texted someone that Farwell had asked for a key to her apartment in the week leading up to her death. She told the person that it was really odd that he'd come over and looked inside her closet and bathroom. That's a still footage of his arrest by the SWAT team. According to the affidavit, officers found Birchmore dead with a duffel bag strap tied around her neck and connected to the closet door that Farwell had been inspecting. The affidavit also said a doctor interviewed by federal prosecutors made findings that call into question the prior finding that Birchmore's cause of death was suicide, and instead further confirmed that Birchmore's cause of death was homicide. I'm interested as to the doctor that they spoke with. Was it that they interviewed Dr. Barden, or was there a separate individual that also ruled it a homicide? What we believe Matthew Farwell did, as outlined in today's indictment, is depraved and a gross betrayal of his sworn oath and public's trust, said Stephen Kelleher, Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. Let me be clear. It was a separate doctor? Okay. Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge do not grant him the authority to violate the Constitution. Stoughton Police Chief Donna McNamara said her department had been working with the FBI on the investigation. The alleged murder of Sandra is a horrific injustice, she said in a statement. The allegations against the suspect, a former Stoughton police officer, represent the single worst act of not just professional misconduct, but indeed human indecency that I've observed in nearly 3 decades in law enforcement. Canton Police and State Police at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office initially investigated Birchmore's death, deeming it a suicide, and apparently missing surveillance footage and text messages that placed Farwell at the scene of the crime. Wait until we start digging into the interesting tidbits there, because we're going to start seeing a little bit of crossover between the other 2 cases that we're following up. There's crossover with the Root case, and there is crossover with the Reed case, because officers Lank, Tully, Fanning, and Bukaki, you know what, I actually really wish I hadn't just done that, because I want this to be serious, are all involved and being investigated as a result. It's federal, so we won't get to see the trial. That is true, unfortunately. A group of people held signs outside federal court on Wednesday that believe Norfolk County investigators should be held accountable. This charge should have come a long time ago and never should have gone this long, said protester Alison Taggart. And the other thing that I read was the letter from the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office trying to suppress the investigation from the feds. They actually sent a letter off to the Attorney General for the state, and honestly, it read as Morrissey trying to cover his ass, in my personal opinion. Such a wide ass that he majorly failed to cover in any way, shape, or form, given that the response was a resounding, stick to your own lane and we'll continue to investigate you. He made a big mess of everything? Yes, he did. Levy would not comment on the prior investigation. This case is about what went wrong for Sandra Birchmore and how she was treated by Matthew Farwell and how he violated her rights and ultimately killed her. That's what this case is about, and it's not about what happens in other state agencies, because that'll come later. A spokesman for Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey said on Wednesday that the Birchmore case is still open and active, and therefore they do not have to comment on it because it's ongoing. The work has included collaboration with local police, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth, and the FBI, as each entity has unique resources and jurisdiction. The two state police officers assigned to Norfolk County District Attorney's Office were at the command post for the operation when the apprehension was made in Revere. Spokesman David Traub said, "We look forward to supporting and assisting federal authorities as they pursue this prosecution." You're not going to stop the Glowy gang from investigating anything? Nope. He tried, though. Allegedly, in my opinion. A SWAT team arrested Matthew Farwell Wednesday morning at the Revere Shopping Plaza. Is it Revere or Revere? Yeah. Shopping Plaza, where he was driving a gravel hauler. He faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison if found guilty on the charge of killing a witness or a victim. The death penalty is also a possibility in this case, Levy said. Whether to seek the death penalty in the federal case is decided at the highest levels of the DOJ. That decision has not been made on whether or not the death penalty will be sought in this case, and that process will continue, but I can't comment beyond that. It's Revere? Thank you. Wasn't effing ongoing when it was just with his guys before the feds got to it. Yeah, Jim. Farwell, as well as his brother and Divine, have all removed themselves from the police department, shall we say, in various ways, shapes, or form. So apparently that was the only job that he could get in the area. Farwell pled not guilty during an arraignment in federal court on Wednesday and was held without bail. A detention hearing has been scheduled for September 10. Former officers Farwell, his twin brother William Farwell, and Robert Devine were found to have violated department policies in 2022 after a 19-month investigation. Investigators said the trio displayed a deeply disturbing pattern of behaviour toward Birchmore. No other Stoughton police officers were named in the new indictment. Levy would only say it's an ongoing matter. There had better be friggin' further indictments coming. Because, based on the FBI investigation, it's very clear that at least one other officer lied under oath in order to cover the tracks. Quite clearly. We actually have this on. Yep, I do have it on. In June, the Boston Globe reported that Birchmore's family had filed a civil suit against the Stoughton police, the town, and the 3 former police officers. A pathologist hired by the family said her death was murder caused by strangulation. In response, Chief McNamara said she was profoundly disturbed and troubled by the findings and that they certainly warrant further examination at the highest level. All right, so let's see what the feds actually had to say. Former Massachusetts police officer arrested in connection with murder of a young woman. Defendant allegedly murdered a pregnant young woman and staged her death to look like suicide to prevent law enforcement from learning about their sexual relationship, which began when she was a minor. A former Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer has been charged in federal court in Boston with allegedly murdering a young woman to prevent her from disclosing information about his long-standing sexual exploitation of her while he was on duty, beginning when she was a minor. Matthew Farwell, 38, of northeastern Massachusetts, has been indicted on one count of killing a witness or victim. Farwell was arrested this morning and will make an initial appearance in federal court in Boston at 2:30 p.m. today. According to the indictment, on or about February 1st, 2021, Farwell allegedly killed Sandra Birchmore by strangulation. It's alleged that Farwell staged her body in an apartment to make it look as if she had committed suicide. The indictment alleges that Farwell killed Birchmore with the intent to prevent law enforcement from learning about Farwell's commission and possible commission of federal offences. Oh, let's not limit it to just... I get why you have to, but... YouTube is blocking messages with death penalty in it. Damn. Cops are already crying that they fear for their lives in Canton and Stoughton. Well, I mean, if I had certain individuals that were supposed to be supporting me and like having my back, I'd probably be a little bit scared too. The indictment alleges that Farwell killed Birchmore to prevent the law enforcement, about federal offences. According to court documents, Farwell was a sworn officer of the Stoughton Police Department beginning on or about March 27, 2012 until April 1, 2022. In his capacity as a police officer, he served as an instructor for the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers Program, which is a vocational education program designed for youth to learn about careers in law enforcement. Sandra Birchmore joined the Stoughton Explorers Program in 2010 when she was 12 years old. Farwell allegedly used his authority and access to groom, sexually exploit, and ultimately sexually abuse Birchmore when she was 15 years old and continued to have sex with her when she became an adult. On several occasions, Farwell allegedly engaged in sex activities with Birchmore while on duty as a Stoughton police officer. To conceal this activity, it is alleged that Farwell falsely represented that he had worked certain hours when in fact he was not working but engaging in sex acts with the then minor victim. Farwell's sexual contact with Birchmore continued until her death on February 1, 2021. And doing this while his wife was in hospital giving birth to their third child. In December 2020, Birchmore learned that she was pregnant. According to court documents, she was excited about the pregnancy, scheduling doctor's appointments, purchasing items for childcare, and telling loved ones she was happy she was going to become a mother. Soon after she learned she was pregnant, Birchmore told Farwell that he was the father of the child and that she expected him to be involved, at least in part, in the child's life. Birchmore disclosed to loved ones that Farwell allegedly became violent with her when they discussed the pregnancy and his role in the child's life. At one point while she was pregnant, he allegedly held her in a headlock and told her that he wished she were dead. On or about January 20, 2021, Birchmore's friend called the Stoughton Police Department, and I have no idea why my voice just cracked, and referenced Farwell and Birchmore's sexual relationship. Upon learning this, Farwell allegedly sent Birchmore angry text messages, and a few days later, approximately 1 week before her death, Farwell visited Birchmore at her apartment in Canton and asked her if he could have a spare apartment key and keep it safe. It is further alleged that 1 week prior to her death, Farwell visited the apartment and began looking through her closets and bathroom, conduct which made her uncomfortable. The court documents allege that on February 1, 2021, facing perceived imminent disclosure as criminal conduct, Farwell murdered Birchmore to silence her. According to court documents, while Birchmore's death was initially ruled a suicide, the federal investigation probed old evidence and revealed critical new evidence leading to the charge against Farwell. Something like 32,000 text messages that allegedly the Stoughton and Canton Police Department could not retrieve. Just one thing there. You learned a lot about careers in law enforcement, namely a lot of crimes. Oh, Jesus. The charge of killing a witness or victim carries a mandatory sentence of death or life in prison. Sentences are imposed by federal district court judges based on the US sentencing guidelines and statutes which govern the determination of sentencing in the criminal case. He's a police officer, so I'd fully expect that he would get life in prison as opposed to the needle, which I believe he deserves in my own personal opinion, but we might get lucky. I don't even feel sorry saying that. The Alberts and the McCabe's are probably exhuming Chloe from the pool so they can burn the body completely. No DNA to test on John's dog bites. We'll see. I don't know if she's under the pool or if she's under the basement, but I mean, either way. Acting United States Attorney Joshua S. Levy and Jody Cohen, special agent in charge of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Boston Division, made the announcement today. The Massachusetts Attorney General Office, Massachusetts State Police, Stoughton Police Department, and Norfolk District Attorney's Office provided assistance in the investigation. I know that they had to include Morrissey's office, but it's still funny to say that they provided assistance when, personally, from my own review of things, it looks like they stonewalled at every opportunity. Assistant U.S. Attorneys Elizabeth Riley, Tory B. Cummings, and Brian A. Fogarty of the Office's Human Trafficking and Civil Rights Unit are prosecuting the case. Details contained in the charging documents are allegations. The defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in according to a court of law. Proper response for pedos. Yep. All right. Let's have a look at the... This is to cover it up. Exactly. We'll have a look at the... press conference that the FBI had. Or the DOJ, I should say. Should have audio for this.
In her Canton, Massachusetts apartment. The charges filed today in federal court allege that she was in fact murdered by Matthew Farwell 3 days earlier. At the time of her death, Sandra Birchmore was a 23-year-old woman with her entire life ahead of her, and she was pregnant with her first child. We allege that Sandra Birchmore survived years of grooming, statutory rape, and then sexual violence, all at the hands of Matthew Farwell, who was employed throughout their relationship as an officer and then detective for the Stoughton Police Department. And when it became clear to Mr. Farwell that he could no longer control Sandra Birchmore, he allegedly silenced her permanently. This morning, Matthew Farwell was arrested on a federal grand jury indictment, charging him with one count of killing a witness or victim. Specifically, Mr. Farwell is charged with violating Title 18 United States Code 1512 for killing Sandra Birchmore with the intent of preventing her from communicating information about his possible commission of federal crimes. How did this all unfold? What happened here? Well, back in 2010, a 12-year-old Sandra Birchmore applied to join the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program, which introduces teens to policing. Officer Matthew Farwell was an instructor in that program. And as alleged in court documents, he befriended Sandra Birchmore, contacted her online, went to the library with her, became friends on Facebook, essentially groomed her. And then he committed statutory rape by having sex with her when he was a 27-year-old police officer and she was just 15 years old. Mr. Farwell continued to have a sexual relationship with Sandra Birchmore until her death 8 years later, allegedly meeting her for sex regularly when he was on duty and being paid by the Stoughton Police Department. Now, in the weeks leading up to Sandra Birchmore's death in February 2021, she found out that she was expecting a baby. And she told Mr. Farwell that he was the father. According to court documents, Ms. Birchmore was very excited about becoming a mother, buying baby clothes and other items, taking precautions to ensure the health of her new child. Sandra Birchmore had good friends, she had a good job, she had dreams of becoming a nurse, and she had a child on the way. But Mr. Farwell did not share in that excitement. It's alleged that Mr. Farwell reacted quite negatively to the news that Sandra Birchmore was pregnant with his child. And he acted angrily, it is alleged, when Sandra Birchmore started making requests of Mr. Farwell around doctor's appointments and ultrasounds and what information would be on the birth certificate. Mr. Farwell was losing control in late 2020, early 2021, and the information that Sandra Birchmore possessed about his illegal conduct was in danger of slipping out. In fact, word started to get out about their relationship. Less than 2 weeks before she was found dead, someone called the Stoughton Police Department and disclosed that Matthew Farwell had had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. And when Mr. Farwell learned about that call, he became visibly angry. Mr. Farwell, it is alleged in these court papers, started to lose his patience, lose his temper, and the 6'4" Mr. Farwell started to be physically violent with 4'10" Sandra Birchmore. And Sandra Birchmore told her friends that Mr. Farwell had pushed her and shoved her and put her in a chokehold. She was scared. And during that same time, Mr. Farwell was allegedly planning Sandra Birchmore's murder. For the first time, he requested a key to her apartment. And she told friends that he was oddly inspecting the apartment and looking at the closet, including the closet that she was found dead in front of. And then it all came to a head on February 1st, 2021. Mr. Farwell went over to her apartment that evening, and he strangled Sandra Birchmore to death. That's the allegation in this case. And he used his knowledge and experience as a law enforcement officer to stage her death to look like a suicide. He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder. And he almost did, until today. Back in 2021, with the information that was available, Sandra Birchmore's death was ruled a suicide, or deemed a suicide. But over the last year or so, the FBI and our office have been working exhaustively with our state partners. We've uncovered critical new information, examined the existing information, all of which led to this federal grand jury indictment. If convicted on this charge, Mr. Farwell faces a minimum of life imprisonment. Giving voice to the voiceless, ensuring that no one is above the law, protecting the vulnerable people of Massachusetts, that's the highest calling of people in law enforcement. And this case represents those principles. And every day across Massachusetts, thousands of police officers, federal, state, local law enforcement, put their lives on the line to protect the people of Massachusetts. Mr. Farwell violated those principles, and now he faces very grave consequences. It is disheartening to have to charge law enforcement officers, especially with crimes this serious. But it's our job at the Department of Justice to investigate potential crimes without fear and without favor. We do in this office what we've been doing for decades with our federal partners like the FBI. We follow the facts, regardless of where they lead. We apply the law and the principles of federal prosecution, full stop. We are not influenced by social media chatter. We are not influenced by politics. We're influenced by the facts and the law. Our mission is to do our level best to do justice in every case. And our mission today is to do justice for Sandra Birchmore. Lastly, I want to note that we are sharing the information and the evidence that we developed in this case with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, with the Massachusetts State Police, and with the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office.
And I guarantee Morrissey was shitting himself as soon as he received various bits and pieces of information. Whoops. Found the surveillance? Cheers, Stinch.
They can assess whether state charges may be warranted in this situation. And I want to thank those three agencies. I also want to thank the Stoughton Police Department for their assistance in our investigation. Lastly, I want to commend the women and the men of the FBI Boston and Lakeville for their incredible work on this case. This was a dogged investigation, and as you look at the court papers, you'll see exactly how much work has gone into this matter. A huge credit to them, and I particularly want to thank the members of my office, the office I'm proud to lead, the victim witness advocates, paralegals, the chief of our Human Trafficking and Civil Rights Unit, Liz Riley, Assistant United States Attorneys Tori Cummings and Brian Fogarty. This case doesn't happen without their passion for justice. They deserve the credit, not me. Now I want to turn it over to Steve Kelleher, the Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Kelleher, Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. At approximately 10:45 a.m. this morning, the FBI arrested former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell for allegedly taking the life of Sandra Birchmore in order to ensure her silence. The FBI SWAT team took him into custody at a shopping plaza in Revere without incident. Immediately following his arrest, we shared this significant development with Sandra's family. We know it does not ease their pain, but hopefully it answers some of their questions. Simply put, this case is about seeking justice for Sandra, who we believe was killed by Matthew Farwell after he allegedly groomed and sexually abused her when she was just 15 years old, violating her body and her civil rights. It's also about keeping Mr. Farwell from getting away with murder and from harming anyone else. We in law enforcement are entrusted with immense authority because our decisions can have life-changing consequences, both good and bad. To temper that power, we must adhere to the highest of ethical standards. What we believe Officer Matthew Farwell did, as outlined in today's indictment, is depraved and a gross betrayal of his sworn oath and the public's trust. Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge did not grant him authority to violate the Constitution, and it certainly didn't entitle him to sexually exploit, abuse, and rape a child before killing her and her unborn baby in an attempt to cover up his alleged crimes. What's also troubling is we believe Matthew Farwell staged Sandra's body and her apartment to make it look like she had died by suicide. And in the days that followed, this sworn police officer repeatedly lied to Massachusetts State Police investigators about the nature of their relationship. It's a stark contrast to the sheer excitement and pure joy that Sandra felt when she told Farwell that she was expecting his child, texting him a photo of a poster she had made celebrating the pregnancy. Our investigation also uncovered additional evidence that is inconsistent with someone choosing to die by suicide. In the hours leading up to Sandra's death, she reached out to a photographer to inquire about booking a newborn photo shoot. She also reached out to a friend about obtaining baby clothes. And at the time that she was in the middle of doing laundry when she died, with a load in the washing machine and another one in the dryer. There's no question this was a complex investigation, and our work is not done. Our agents, analysts, and financial investigators reviewed tens of thousands of text messages, emails, and financial records, conducted dozens of interviews with family, friends, and experts, and analyzed the crime scene. We urge...
I just want to pause here very briefly, because thousands of text messages that this guy, who also testified in the Karen Reed case, said didn't exist. I analysed both their phones, Farwell and Birchmore, and did not find any communication with Sandra Birchmore.
Based on your review of what Mr. Green said or did, what, if anything, did you then do with regard to Ms. McCabe's phone?
So I basically went point by point through his report to confirm or deny if what he was placing in there was true.
And what, if anything, were you able to ascertain or learn from going through Ms. McCabe's phone with reference to what Mr. Green stated? Objection.
I'll allow that.
It was mostly incorrect.
And when you say mostly incorrect, what was mostly incorrect?
So he states that there's a Google search that's done at 2:27 in the morning that immediately stuck out to me, because when I went back and looked, that file that was parsed was not from the database that should have showed searches.
Anyway, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, Nicholas Guarino, in my own personal opinion, should have his own indictment coming, because at the very least, he's lied during a police investigation into someone's death that was committed by another officer, allegedly. And it's going to suck for the next couple of hours, because I'm probably not going anywhere for a little while, that I keep having to say, allegedly. Going to annoy the hell out of me.
Anyone with information about the circumstances surrounding Sandra's death to contact the FBI. Committing murder to eliminate victims and witnesses is heinous, and it shakes the very core of our justice system, which depends on people truthfully testifying to what they know. Today's arrest shows that anyone who tries to interfere and retaliate against victims and witnesses in an attempt to subvert the rule of law will have to answer for it. After all, the public's trust is critical for our justice system to function properly. That's why the FBI will do everything in its power to bring to justice anyone who tries to undermine that trust. Our hearts go out to Sandra, to the Birchmore family, and all who knew and loved Sandra. On behalf of the FBI, I want to thank them for their cooperation, patience, perseverance.
And either way, in
fortitude.
my opinion, should be
I also
punished.
want to thank our agents and analysts for their hard work and dedication, Acting U.S. Attorney Josh Levy and his team for their partnership, and both Chief McNamara of the Stoughton Police Department and Colonel Mon with the Massachusetts State Police for their assistance in helping us move this investigation forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Take some questions?
Josh, why did it take so long to go from suicide, to finding it suicide, to now murder?
Well, I think if you have, when you have a chance to look through the court papers, you'll see how exhaustive this investigation is. Obviously, this is an incredibly serious charge. There was a lot of forensics and other evidence that had to be marshaled, expert witnesses, et cetera. So we move as fast as we can, and we also have a duty to get it right.
Was there a rush to find a suicide because this involved a police officer?
Yeah, our office wasn't involved in the initial determination of a suicide, so I can't speak to that.
You mentioned your office got involved about a year ago. What prompted that?
Yeah, we get leads on cases all the time from all different sources. I'm not going to comment on how we get information on how we got into this one.
As you said initially, this was considered a suicide, but it seems like there's a plethora of evidence to suggest otherwise. Surveillance, text messages. How was that all missed for the first 2 years?
Yeah, I'm only in a position to comment on what we've done on this investigation. Those questions are not something I'm able to answer to. We like I said in my comments, we started pulling this string and followed the evidence and got new evidence to put together the case we put together today.
So what evidence tipped you off?
I'm sorry, sir?
What evidence led you to the opinion?
You're never able to pick one piece of evidence that
Oh, come on.
that is the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's really an accumulation. We have to go in front of a jury, 12 citizens, and convince them beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Farwell is guilty. That's on us. He's presumed innocent today, and he will remain innocent until we meet that burden. But it's all the evidence in combination makes that case.
Did the state medical examiner's office plan to change the cause of death on her birth death certificate, and did you determine who the father of her unborn baby was?
Well, I'll take those in reverse order. I'm not going to comment on the second piece. What we have alleged in the court papers is that Ms. Birchmore told Mr. Farwell several times that he was the father. And your question about the state medical examiner, obviously, they don't report to me, and that's a question better directed to the state medical examiner.
Matthew is mentioned here, but we've heard reports over the years of several other officers. Are you guys conducting any other ongoing investigations related to Sandra?
Better
So I
answer
think
that.
Assistant Special Agent Charge Kelleher alluded to the fact this is an ongoing investigation. I'm not going to comment on what the other pieces are that we're
Good.
looking into.
Glad to hear it.
But it's an active investigation. Shelley.
This is a death penalty.
Okay, so what he's saying without saying there is that, I mean, technically it wouldn't still be an ongoing investigation if they were stopping with Matthew. So, because it's already been handed over for indictment, it's already been before the grand jury, and now it's going to trial, he would be saying the, we can't comment on ongoing litigation or ongoing matters or anything like that. He specifically said, and I like the way that he worded that there, because he was trying to say it without saying it, there's ongoing investigations, which I'm not going to lie, I'm happy to hear.
Eligible case, is that on the table, or is that already off the table?
So, Shelley, you're absolutely correct. The maximum penalty under this statute as charged is a sentence of death. And whether to seek the death penalty in a federal case is decided at the highest levels of the Department of Justice. That decision has not been made on whether the death penalty we sought in this case, and that process will continue, but I can't comment on it beyond that.
Would you favor that? Would you push for that?
Not going to comment on it. It's a process that involves a lot of people at the Department of Justice, and I'm not going to share my view on this.
Did other officers in Stoughton or Stoughton government know about the grooming, the underage sex actual context.
Journalists were on fire today, asking the main questions.
What was going on in those early 2010, 11, 12, 13?
You know, I'm not going to comment on information that's not in the public record. As you heard, this is an ongoing matter, so we're going to continue to look into this matter. And
There it is.
If there's other individuals that we develop evidence that they've violated the federal law, we'll proceed.
Josh, can you touch on, I mean, this murder, state usually is the one that handles murder charges. Obviously, feds have jurisdiction on many cases, but what made this one get to federal authorities, and do you think that the state officials watched this investigation?
You know, there's a lot of overlap in the law between the federal government has jurisdiction over and what the state government has jurisdiction over.
That wasn't the question you
when
asked.
someone comes to our office with credible information that a police officer may have been involved in a murder and underlying legal violations as set forth in the indictment, we're going to investigate that case every time. They come in different shapes and sizes, but that is our duty to the public, is to pursue credible leads like that and investigate them fully.
To follow up on her question, we saw Lieutenant Tully outside earlier. This was Norfolk DA's case first. You mentioned
It's not just the Reed case, honey.
throughout this. Does your office look into what may have went wrong in their investigation?
At this point,
case
there's
about
4
what went wrong
cases.
for Sandra Birchmore and how she was treated by Matthew Farwell and how he violated her rights and ultimately killed her. That's what this case is about. It's not about what happens in other state agencies. This is about justice for Sandra Birchmore.
This is the second major death investigation where your office has come to a different conclusion than Norfolk County DA. I'm sure you can't comment on that, but is that normal for federal prosecutors and state prosecutors to reach different conclusions?
Oh my god, if he mentions the letter, I'm going to laugh. That was a killer question from the journalist, though. This is the second major death investigation where your office has come to a different conclusion than DA Morrissey. You thought I was saying honey because she was female. Looked at the chat. No, not so much. Got their fingers in every pie they could. Yes. Because I don't know if it's just because it was, they were specifically assigning specific officers to investigate certain things to cover certain things up, or if it's just that this police force was small enough that the same detectives got what do you call it, assigned to the same things. But Tully was the main lead investigator on Sandra's death. Lank filed multiple reports. Buchanan was involved. At one point, I think Kevin Albert was involved in Sandra's case. And then when you wind up in the Root case and you find out that a number of the same officers were the ones doing the investigations into how other actions were taken. And the 4th case, unfortunately, his name has flown out of my head. The gentleman that died in the snow because the officers couldn't be stuffed getting out of their car to investigate. My understanding is that there were a number of a number of familiar names that were involved in that case as well. So it's not going to end with this. Walsh, thank you, Burberries. I swear to God, between you and Stingy, you cover my ass so well. Yeah.
So I'm here to talk about one case. We got about 1,000 cases in the office. I'm not going to comment on any other case in the office.
Oh, wait, hang on. Is that a different one? So was it 5 cases? Oh, see, I at least when it was the Reed cases, the Birchmore case, and the Root case, I could call it the Unholy Trilogy. But now, where, you know, I got to find something snazzy that goes with 5. Walsh is the guy who killed his wife that Proctor was a lead on. Oh, hang on. No, no, hang on. Is that who I think it is? Oh my God, how did I not put 2 and 2 together? Brian Walsh. It is 5 cases. 5 circles of Boston. Is this linked to the police that investigated the Reed case? Yes, because half of the officers are involved. The unholy Pentagon. The guy who Googled shit. The pentagram of injustice. Not League of Doom at this point. Also, yes, this is a horrific case, and we're going to be talking some very, very heavy shit tonight. I'm going to have dark humor. Don't sue me about it. It's how I cope, okay?
I would just caution you to not extrapolate too much from one case out of all the things that are happening in our office.
This district has brought a charge of killing of a witness. I can't think of any others. I'm wondering if there are others.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that. That's a question. That's an answer we could get for you, but I don't know the answer to it, Shelley.
Oh, Chris, the police witnesses for the Reed case are dropping like flies. There's already people saying that they don't expect to see Karen get retried in January. Dark humor, you mean normal Aussie?
We bring charges of obstruction.
Maybe
of
a little bit
justice
worse than
frequently,
usual.
as you know, but I'm not pulling one off the top of my head that matches this. Sorry.
How the hell could you pull something that off the top of your head that matches this? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm not in a position to comment on things that aren't in the public record. That I wouldn't take that as yes or no.
There you go. So there's evidence
I'm limited up here
that he's not
under
willing
local
to discuss
rules,
until it's made public.
Can you talk about the arrest? What happened with the arrest this morning?
I'm going to ask ASAC Kelleher to speak to that.
So this morning we had a SWAT team that was in a location where Mr. Farwell was. He was taken into custody. He was driving a truck, gravel hauler, and he was safely taken into custody by the SWAT team, which is, you know, what we strive to achieve every time we do an operation like this. No, he was in Revere.
Not in a neighborhood in Revere. Was
Got the Coke.
No, it was in a shopping plaza in Revere.
And I got a 2 litre bottle chilling in the fridge just in
We have
case.
not tried to interview him.
I'm well aware this is going to be a long night.
Is that his new employment, presumably?
Again, I wouldn't comment on that here at this time, but he was driving the dump
It's
truck.
kind of irrelevant. He was driving a truck. That's all you really need to know.
There were other agencies investigating this. Can we expect to see any fallout from those lead investigators from other agencies who were responsible for finding justice in this case?
I kind of feel like that's standard procedure where it's a police officer that's accused of murder.
You know, I think the juncture we're at right now is that we are working with state agencies. We've developed, as I said, new information that we're going to share with our state partners. They're going to make decisions about what charges are appropriate under state law, if any.
Can you tell us who the lead investigator was on this case before your agency got involved?
I can tell you the lead investigator was for our matter, which was the FBI. I don't know. I honestly don't have information on who the lead was in a state investigation. I don't get that type of information.
You've said that you're not, you're looking just into the facts of Sandra Birchmore's death. That's the focus of this case, not what law enforcement agencies prior to you did. Is that within your jurisdiction to investigate what those state agencies did?
I think what I said was I'm here to talk about Sandra Birchmore, and I'm not here to talk about other things that are happening in the United States.
He's trying so hard not to say what's coming. He's being very coy about it. But I would bet my last dollar that Morrissey's department is going to get an anal colonoscopy with a very hot red poker.
It's attorney's office. It's 125 federal prosecutors doing a lot of different things. In this case, this press conference is about one young woman who we allege, was killed by a Stoughton police officer, Matthew Farwell.
Saying how your investigation might be complicated by the fact that you're going now into federal court where there is this, and he found that it was suicide, the Norfolk County DA's office opted not to pursue it. How does that affect your efforts now to prosecute?
Yep. Good question. Look. In
Last,
evaluating
like,
whether to bring
24 hours.
charges, we
I just hadn't had a chance to look at it
obviously
first.
all the evidence that's both incriminating and exculpatory. All that gets turned over to defense lawyers. Mr. Farwell will be well represented in this case, and those facts will be put out in front of a jury. We are confident that when all the evidence is presented to a jury, if it gets that far, that those issues will not prevent us from securing a conviction.
Have you done your own, have your own person do an autopsy?
We-
That's come to a different conclusion? I know there's another one out there that's already been reported on. but-
That's correct. There's an expert witness. I don't want to get into exactly what that person did or didn't because I don't want to mischaracterize it, but it's in the court documents. Who has a tremendous amount of experience in this field.
Dr.
Has
Barden.
reached a different conclusion.
Okay, so they're relying on his opinion.
Comment on the other two officers who had sexual relations with Ms. Birchmore.
That's correct.
Chris, they've got him. That's the point. The FBI were able to pull 32,000 odd texts over the last decade and a bit. And some of the more disturbing details are in the court documents that we're going to be going through. Oh, really? That was the other doctor? Oh, okay. I stand corrected. Well, we're going to go through the court documents and we'll hear all about it anyway.
How unusual is it for a police officer to be charged with a capital offense involving sex with a minor?
It's unusual in my experience. I don't have a full handle on.
Hang on. You're shitting me. The doctor's name is Dr. Smock. You know full well I'm not going to make it through this trial without making jokes, right?
On how often this has been done
And
nationwide,
yes, I know it's Spock.
but it's an unusual situation. And that's partly why it's so incredibly disturbing.
Anyone else? Do you have any words of caution to departments that have Police Explorer programs based on what you learned from your investigation about how this was able to unfold?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to my swim lane. I'm not an expert on Police Explorer programs, and so I really don't have any intelligent answer to that question.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that he said as much with what he didn't say to what he did, but I think there's a good chance that a number of the... Is this why Bev denied Reed delaying the trial? Did she know this was all going to blow up and she wanted Reed signed, sealed, and delivered before it could? The cynic in me says that that's a distinct possibility. But, I mean, whether she could have known that the investigation was going on unless she'd been tipped off by somebody, I'm not 100% sure. Funny how the FBI can pull 32,000 texts on the case, but when Clinton hid emails on an illegal server, there's nothing to see and they can't be recovered. What I've learned, MSP investigates all unattended deaths, not local PD, hence why so many of the same players involved in multiple cases. Don't think the Walsh case is under FBI investigation. No, I don't think it is, from what I can remember and gather now. But depending on who was involved in the investigation, it may well fall under it soon, as to whether or not there was police misconduct on it. But we'll continue to look at that. For the moment, I'm leaving it at the 4 cases, but there's a chance that the Walsh case will wind up being was it a quintella? The 5th leg, anyway. All right. Oh, I saw this too. Stoughton, Massachusetts. A lawyer for disgraced former Stoughton police officer William Farwell said that Sandra Birchmore's identity and connection to the police youth training program should be hidden from the panel reviewing Farrell's police certification. So obviously this was, 3 weeks ago. But they wanted to hide the fact that he'd fucked a 15-year-old girl who was under his care and purview in his certification. That's some horse shit. What's that? That's the Canton police report. You know what? I think we've just got to dive straight into it, people. So now would be the time. I'll give you a couple of minutes if you want to go and, fair warning, go to the toilet, make a cup of coffee, whatever else. Because from this, we're going to be diving straight into the indictment and the FBI affidavit. And it's heavy reading. So I literally can't make it any clearer. All right, so just to rehash, I'm going to go back over the Canton Police Department narrative from Michael Lank, one of the first people to write a report on it. On 4th of February 21, I was working as a patrol sergeant for the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. shift. At approximately 10 a.m., I was notified by SRO Officer Cotard that he was going to be conducting a well-being check on a party. The party in question, Sandra Birchmore, had not shown up for work at the East Middle School for several days without notifying anybody at the school. Officer Cotard, Brady, Officer Yeaton responded to the address in an effort to make contact with Birchmore. Once on scene, Officer Codard notified me that nobody was answering the door. He was then able to locate the subject's vehicle in the parking lot. The vehicle was covered in snow and appeared to have not moved since the snowfall on Monday, 3 February 21. Being unable to reach anybody in the apartment, the officers on the scene were able to make contact with the property manager, who provided them with a key to access the apartment for a well-being check. Upon entering the apartment, Officer Cotard located Birchmore in the bedroom, deceased with a black strap around her neck, which was tied to a bedroom closet door. At this point, the scene was secured and Officer Yeaton requested my response to the scene along with Detective McCourt. Once on scene, access to the apartment was limited to Detective McCourt and I. Firefighter Whitley was allowed into the apartment with Tyvek boots in order to pronounce the party deceased. Once the scene was secured, State Police CPAC unit was notified and responded to the scene. While waiting for the unit to arrive, I went to the rental office and met with the property manager and maintenance supervisor. They were able to access the video camera system, which only captured the interior entrance to building number 3, which was the residence of the deceased. The video is motion activated and captures people entering and exiting or any other motion in the front lobby. While observing the footage, I observed Birchmore's activity in the following order. Sunday, she left the building at 9:51 in the morning, returned at 10:08, left at 10:11, returned to the building at 1:15 p.m. with 2 pizza boxes, talking on the phone, then leaves at 4:39 p.m. and returns to the building at 4:41, texting. I was later informed by the property manager that Birchmore was captured again on camera leaving the building on Monday, and she returns at 5:46 p.m. holding a snow brush. This was the last time she was seen on video. While reviewing the video, Porter was able to obtain Birchmore's file and locate her emergency contact, Darlene Smith, who is the aunt of the deceased and who is her personal legal representative, and she is the one who has lodged the wrongful death suit against the 3 officers as well as the Stoughton Police Department. What does a grown man see in a 15-year-old? No clue, honestly. Upon returning to the department, I met with troopers Dunn and Tufts from the State Police CPAC unit. I advised them of the information that we'd obtained so far. The scene was processed and photographed by the CPAC unit. The medical examiner's office was contacted and responded to the scene to take custody of the body. It was at that time that Officer Nix was able to get in contact with Darlene Smith, who was currently in Raymond, New Hampshire. New Hampshire. Officer Nix advised her that Birchmore had been found deceased. Smith told Officer Nix that this did not make any sense to her and went on to tell him that, redacted, that Birchmore was pregnant and she was very happy about it. She was unable to respond to the scene as she was out of state. Thursday evening, I was contacted by email by Erin Porter, who was a property manager of the Windsor Woods. She stated that she'd seen somebody enter the building on the video footage that was believed to be Alexander Sandstrom, who was a friend of Birchmore. Sandstrom had applied for housing a few weeks back with the recommendation of Birchmore. She said she was not positive due to the face coverings, but wanted to bring it to our attention. I advised her we'd look into the matter when we were able to access the video footage again. On Saturday, 6 February 21, I returned to work as a patrol sergeant. Once at work, I noticed another email that I received from Porter stating she had a concerning call on Friday and would like to speak to me about it. I contacted Porter immediately. She told me that she'd received a call last night on their emergency line from a party called Tina Thompson. She said that Thompson was very upset and was making statements about Birchmore. She stated that Birchmore had been dating a police officer and that she was pregnant. She told Porter that the officer was the father, and she told Birchmore something, he would take care of the problem himself. Porter advised her that she would be speaking with the police and not her. Detective McCourt provided Trooper Tufts with all this information, as well as the contact information for Porter and Thompson. Approximately 1 p.m, I returned with Detectives Kevin Albert, and McCourt. Verissimo had agreed to meet us there and to review more video of Building 3. We were met at the leasing office by Troopers Dunn and Tufts. While the video footage was being reviewed, I spoke with the leasing manager, Kathleen Fahey, told Fahey that it had been brought to my attention she had spoken to Birchmore in the recent weeks before her death. She acknowledged that she had spoken to her on a couple of different occasions and agreed to speak with me about it. She said she spoke with Birchmore about 4 weeks ago when she first learned that Birchmore was pregnant, probably. Birchmore told her that the father was a police officer and that she seemed nervous about it, I assume. I'm reading between the lines here, quite literally. She told Fahey that the father was a police officer who was not happy about the pregnancy and did not want to be involved. Birchmore never told her in what capacity the father worked as a police officer. Birchmore went on to say that the two had broken up and were no longer together. At the time of the conversation, Fahey believed that Birchmore was approximately however many weeks along. Next time Fayette recalls talking with Birchmore was approximately 3 weeks ago. During that conversation, she stated that Birchmore seemed to be happier and joked with her about anticipating multiple packages to be delivered in the coming weeks, as she had been doing shopping. She also stated that once the something, she was hoping to move into a bigger unit within the Windsor Woods. Beatty told me that all the packages that are delivered by courier come to the leasing office and they send a message to the tenant. She told me that she had a record of Birchmore's recent deliveries. She picked up 2 packages on the 30th of January. There were 3 packages from Coles that were delivered last week, but had not yet been picked up. There was one more package that arrived that day, on 6 February from Coles. The package was small, but based on what Fayette told me, something. I did not open the packages, but brought it to the attention of Troopers Dunn and Tufts. After speaking with Fayette, I returned to apartment 3307 with Canton detectives Albert and McCourt. They were accompanied by Troopers Dunn, Tufts, and Sergeant Fanning from the Massachusetts State Police. Fanning's a name you may recall from the Karen Reid trial, because allegedly he was the officer that was in charge of overseeing the jury in the Reid trial. Like I said, a lot of similar names, or should I say a lot of familiar names is what I keep getting similar and familiar mixed up. Once inside the apartment, my attention was brought to the large box containing I think that was the baby capsule. This was the same box that I'd observed Birchmore carrying into the building on Saturday. I observed the shipping label on the box and noticed the package being delivered to Raymond, North Hampshire, which was the current address for Birchmore's aunt, Darlene Smith. The apartment was further processed for officers on the scene. Okay. I read through that to give people enough of a chance to do what they needed to, vacate, read, do whatever you need to. This shit's about to get heavy. Okay. So here's Farwell's indictment. Excuse me. At all relevant times to this indictment, between on or about March 21, 2012 and on or about April 1, 2022, defendant Matthew Farwell, hereinafter a Farwell, was a sworn officer of the Stoughton Police Department in Stoughton, Massachusetts. In his capacity as a Stoughton police officer, Farwell also served as an instructor for the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy, hereinafter known as the Police Explorers, which was a vocational education program for local youth. The Police Explorers were designed to enable youth participants to learn about law enforcement careers. Sandra Birchmore was born in May 1997. In or around March 2010, Sandra Birchmore applied to be a participant of the Police Explorers. At that time, she was 12 years old. She began participating in the program in or around spring of 2010 and remained in the program through to in on around 2016. Prior to in or around 2012, Farwell was a Police Explorers volunteer. He became an instructor when he started working for the Stoughton Police Department in 2012. Before Birchmore attained the age of 16 years old, Farwell engaged in sexual intercourse and other sex acts with Birchmore. Farwell's sexual conduct with Birchmore continued until in or around 2021. Pedophiles, I swear to God. Wood chippers, it's the easiest thing. Stoughton Police Department required employees, including police officers, to accurately report their time and attendance in order to receive wages and overtime. During some of the shifts when Farwell was supposed to be performing his duties as a Stoughton police officer, he was instead engaging in sex acts with Birchmore. He failed to disclose that information to Stoughton Police Department, and he took steps to conceal his conduct from other department employees. I love how they're going for wrongfully obtained wages in addition to, I don't know, indecency and sex and rape of a minor? In or around December 2020, Birchmore learned that she was pregnant. She told Farwell that he was the father of the child. On or about January 2021, Birchmore's friend called the Stoughton Police Department and told a department employee that Farwell had been having sex with Birchmore. Shortly thereafter, a Stoughton Police Department employee told Farwell about the call. On or about February 1, 2021, Farwell killed Birchmore in strangulation. Shortly thereafter, Farwell staged Birchmore's Canton, Massachusetts apartment to make it appear as if she had committed suicide. The grand jury charges and realleges and incorporates by reference the allegations in paragraphs 1 to 8 of this indictment On or about February 1, 2021 in Canton in the District of Massachusetts, the defendant, Matthew Farwell, did kill Sandra Birchmore, a person known to the grand jury with malice aforethought, willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation, and with the intent to prevent communication by any person to a law enforcement officer of information relating to the commission or possible commission of a federal offence, to wit, commission or possible commission of the federal offences of deprivation of rights under the colour of law in violation of Title 18, Section 242, coercion and enticement in violation of Title 18, Section 2422B, and wire fraud in violation of Title 18, Section 1343. At this point, they should throw the entire book at him. If the sentence is 700 years, so be it. Yes, Bernice, he was married. And at one point, he was engaging in actions with her. His wife was giving birth. Allegedly. All in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 1512A1C. Okay, so that's the FBI affidavit, and that is memorandum in support of pretrial detention. So we'll start with the affidavit. Now, bear with me, people. It's 45 pages. Hang on, and there was one thing I had to check before I got stuck into it. Ah, yes, Stenge, you're a gem. Absolutely what I want. So this is the video that they were able to pull. I know I shouldn't be laughing, but the snow broom is... Alright, now this is allegedly Matthew Farwell coming in using the key that he'd been given to by her. Tell me that the way that he's going about it, keeping his head down, specifically keeping an eye out of the camera, has a hood up, a face mask on. Admittedly, it's February 2021, so it all seems a little too convenient. And then he does the exact same thing on the way out, making sure that he's not providing a good view of the camera, and then he's out, and it's the last time that anyone's seen coming or going. Oh, all right. Now, I reiterate, people, this is your last chance. Okay? I did everything I could to warn you. Affidavit of Special Agent Shanae Castorita in support of government's motion for detention. Oh, wait, hang on. Yep. Sworn and state, I've been a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation since June 2022, currently assigned to the Public Corruption and Civil Rights Squad of FBI's at Boston Division, where I investigate public corruption and civil rights offences. Graduate of the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia, and have received on-the-job training and attended courses sponsored by the FBI and the Department of Justice on how to conduct investigations regarding violations of various federal laws. I'm a federal law enforcement officer within the meaning of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. Yeah, you knew there was a camera in the building, is my take on that. The facts in this affidavit come from my personal observations and review of the records, my training experience, and information obtained from other agents and witnesses. This affidavit's filed in connection with the government's motion for detention. Therefore, it does not set forth all my own and other investigators' knowledge about this matter. I submit this affidavit in connection with the government's motion to detain Matthew Farwell pending trial, as alleged in the indictment charging Farwell with violations under Title 18, Section 1512, and as further described below, on February 1, 2021, Farwell killed Sandra Birchmore with the intent to prevent her from communicating to law enforcement certain information regarding Farwell's commission or possible commission of the following federal crimes: using a facility or means of interstate commerce to persuade, induce, entice, or coerce then 15-year-old Birchmore to engage in unlawful sexual intercourse in violation of Title 18, Section 2422B. Depriving Birchmore of certain rights secured by the United States Constitution by committing statutory rape while acting under colour of law in violation of Title 18, Section 242. Participating in a scheme to defraud the Stoughton Police Department and Town of Stoughton through false representations or material admissions about the hours that he worked in order to receive compensation for official time when he was in fact engaging in sexual intercourse with Birchmore, in violation of Title 18, Section 1343. On February 1, 2021, then Stoughton Police Detective Matthew Farwell killed Sandra Birchmore. Farwell committed this murder, at least in part, to prevent Birchmore from disclosing to authorities information regarding his commission or possible commission of one or more crimes, including coercion and enticement in violation of Title 18, 2422B, deprivation of rights under colour of law, Section 242, and then ongoing wire fraud scheme in violation of Title 18, Section 1343. Farwell's murder of Birchmore was in the culmination of Farwell's years-long pattern of abuse targeting Birchmore. When she was a young girl, Sandra Birchmore was interested in pursuing a career in law enforcement and eventually joined the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy, hereinafter referred to as the Police Explorers, to learn more about law enforcement careers. While Birchmore was in the program, Farwell was involved as both a volunteer and as an instructor. Farwell used his authority to access, groom, sexually exploit, and ultimately sexually abuse then 15-year-old Birchmore. Farwell continued to sexually abuse his sexual abuse after Birchmore became an adult, and he continued to engage in an extramarital sexual relationship with Birchmore until he killed her on February 1, 2021. There are signs that in late 2020 and early 21, Farwell was losing control of Birchmore and the information that she possessed about his past and then ongoing conduct. In or around December 2020, she became pregnant. Soon thereafter, Birchmore told Farwell that he was the father of the child and she wanted him to be involved in the planning of the impending birth. On January 21, Birchmore's friend contacted Farwell's employer, the Stoughton Police Department, and during that call referenced Farwell and Birchmore's illicit sexual relationship. Shortly thereafter, a Stoughton Police Department employee told Farwell about that call. I'll make this a little bit big. By the end of January 21, Farwell faced the spectre of additional disclosures to law enforcement regarding his prior sexual abuse of Birchmore and his then ongoing efforts to defraud the Stoughton Police Department and Town of Stoughton by meeting her for sex when he was supposed to be on duty as a police officer. On February 1, 2021, Farwell went to Birchmore's apartment in Canton, Massachusetts, wearing a COVID-19 medical face mask. Once inside, he killed her and staged her body in an apartment to make it appear that Birchmore had died by suicide. On February 4, 2021, 3 days after the murder, members of the Canton Police Department went to Birchmore's apartment to conduct a well-being check. When police officers entered, they found her body. A paramedic determined that Birchmore was dead, and her body was transported to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner. In early May 2021, the office of the Chief Medical Examiner pathologist ruled that Birchmore's manner of death was suicide. Evidence that Farwell committed federal offences or possibly committed federal offences by sexually abusing Birchmore when she was a minor. Matthew Farwell started sexually exploiting Sandra Birchmore no later than 2013 when she was a 15-year-old. At the time Birchmore was enrolled in the Police Explorers, Farwell used his position of trust and authority as a sworn police officer and instructor in the Police Explorers program to groom Birchmore. Ultimately, Farwell sexually abused Birchmore, including by engaging in sexual intercourse with her. The Explorers program is a vocational program that enables youth to explore career paths such as careers in law enforcement. Police departments throughout the county partner with the Explorer program to create what is commonly known as local police explorer programs. The Stoughton Police Department chartered and facilitated the Stoughton Police Explorers. It was a quasi-paramilitary program designed to expose youth participants to various aspects of policing.
Phrasing?
Farwell became a sworn member of the Wellesley Police Department in 2008. On March 27, 2012, he was hired by the Stoughton Police Department, where he worked until he resigned on April 1, 2022. Prior to joining the police department in 2012, he was a police explorer volunteer. After joining the department, he served as a police explorer's instructor. He had several roles as an instructor, including teaching firearms and explosive safety and conducting canine demonstrations. Chloe, here you go. At that time, Farwell was already familiar with the police explorers because he'd also been a participant as a teenager. In March 2010, Sandra Birchmore applied to be an explorer's participant. At the time, she was 12 years old. She began participating in the program in the spring of 2010 and remained in the program through 2016. Farwell began to groom Birchmore when she was a child. This grooming culminated in Farwell raping Birchmore in April of 2013 when she was only 15 years old. At the time of the assault, Farwell was 27. Farwell continued to sexually abuse Birchmore prior to her 18th birthday. After Birchmore turned 18, Farwell continued cultivating a sexual relationship with her that lasted until her death on February 1, 2021. Electronic messages between Farwell and Birchmore indicate that Farwell sexually abused her when she was a child. After Birchmore's death, law enforcement agents obtained Birchmore's phones, both Apple iPhones and a laptop, and reviewed the data on those devices. During that review, agents discovered messages between Farwell and Birchmore. The messages confirmed that Farwell frequently communicated with Birchmore for years. The messages also indicate that Farwell had sex with Birchmore when she was a minor, starting in or around April 2013, when Birchmore was 15 and Farwell was 27. This is my training explaining what grooming is. Under Massachusetts law, any intercourse with a person under the age of 16 is unlawful and constitutes sexual abuse, specifically statutory rape. Furthermore, any person who has sex with a child under the age of 16 being at least 10 years older than that person at the time of intercourse is guilty of an aggravated statutory rape. Data from Birchmore's Facebook account reveals aspects of the beginning of Farwell and Birchmore's online communications. Specifically, Facebook data indicates that Farwell sent Birchmore a Facebook friend request on or about October 28, 2012. At the time, Birchmore was 15 years old and a participant in the Police Explorers. Farwell was a 26-year-old instructor. This is fucked up already. What the hell does a 26-year-old see in a 15-year-old aside from himself, obviously? I mean, I'm struggling to understand why he would have been attracted to it. Look, as horrible as it sounds, did she develop early? Did she have big boobs? What goes through your head to be attracted to a teenager like that? It's sick. Power? Maybe. On February 21, 2019, Birchmore and Farwell had a text message conversation about Farwell taking Birchmore's virginity. Birchmore told Farwell that she was happy that he took it. Later in the same conversation, he acknowledged that it was a big thing to get to be the first. Ew. In the same text conversation, Farwell also reminisced about the first time he digitally penetrated her vagina. Discussing the day that occurred, Farwell asked Birchmore what she would have done if he had told her that he wanted her that day. Birchmore responded that she would have told him that she could have sex after school. She also recalled the specific class and seat that she was in when she realised she was going to lose her virginity to him. Based on my investigation, I believe that this occurred during the 2012-2013 school year when Birchmore was 15 years old. Additionally, on March 19, 2019, Farwell asked Birchmore, "What would you have done if we never used a condom and I never pulled out?" Birchmore reassured Farwell that she would have still finished school. Birchmore then told Farwell, "I loved prom night, it was worth not going to prom." Okay, here we go. On February 11, 2020, Birchmore and Farwell discussed the exact day that Farwell took the 15-year-old Birchmore's virginity. "I had butterflies so bad the day you took my virginity. Me too, it was such a big day. Still know the date to this day. Really, yes, that's not a date I'll ever forget. It was April 10, 2013. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like she was being clever here. Because in this text message chain, she's got him to acknowledge the exact date. It was April 10, 2013, best day of my life, face with heart emoji, me too, he said. On June 19, 2020, Birchmore and Farwell had the following conversation in which Farwell reminisced about his past criminal sexual abuse of Birchmore. I'm glad you agreed to take my virginity, though. Me too. Lol, if I pushed, I absolutely could have fucked you without condoms from day one. Probably if you really pushed it. I was kind of scared to say no in the beginning, not knowing how you'd take it, so yeah, you would have got no condoms, lol. Fucking hell. And just randomly having conversations about it too. So let me point something out. Again, and I'm going to harp on about it because it pissed me the fuck off. Nicholas Guarino allegedly went through both of their phones and didn't find these messages, allegedly. Either incredibly incompetent or you're full of shit. Other electronic messages confirm that he sexually abused Birchmore when she was a child. Text messages between Birchmore and others confirm that Farwell sexually abused Birchmore as a child and continued a sexual relationship until her death. For example, on October 5, 2020, Birchmore texted one of her friends stating that Farwell had been having sex with her for the last almost 10 years and that Farwell had taken her virginity before she was 16. On May 20, 2020, Birchmore told another friend that she lost her virginity 5 days before the Boston Marathon bombing. Also, on October 5, 2020, Birchmore prepared a draft text message to Farwell's wife. That's why I think she was being clever, because at that point, she was clearly gearing up because she already knew she was pregnant. Because that set of text messages... That? Oh, actually, no, never mind. That was February. Stand corrected. Text states, in part, I'm just messaging to inform you that your husband Matthew has been cheating on you since before you guys were even married. I'm aware that Farwell and his wife got married in May of 2013, shortly before Birchmore turned 16. There is no known record indicating the draft message was sent to Farwell's wife. I should friggin' well hope not. Were these messages SMS or on a social media platform? My understanding is that they're text messages. Half of these existed before social media platforms did. Other text messages between Farwell and Birchmore demonstrate his sexual interest in minors. On June 15, 2019, Farwell and Birchmore exchanged text messages in which they discussed role-playing during their next encounter. Oh no. Farwell asked Birchmore how old she was going to pretend to be during that encounter. When Birchmore responded 14, Farwell replied with a smiley face emoji. In another conversation on February 21, 2020, Farwell describes pinning Birchmore down during sex and asks her, "Will you say, Matt, stop, I'm 13, I'm not ready for this, oh my fucking god, please stop." No, because Jem, at this point, this is in 2019 when she was in her early 20s. I'm pulling the math out of my head, but I've also reviewed several text messages from 2020 in which Farwell instructs Birchmore to act as if he were her older brother coming into a room at night to have sex with her. Now I'm wondering what the Farwell brothers got up to when they were kids. Witnesses confirmed that Farwell cultivated a close relationship with Birchmore when she was a child. Agents have interviewed one of Birchmore's friends, hereinafter referred to as Person 2, regarding Birchmore's relationship with Farwell. Person 2 indicated that shortly before her death, she revealed to him or her that Farwell started having sex with Birchmore when she was 15 years old. Agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's relatives, who described being aware that Birchmore would meet with Farwell when Birchmore was a minor. Specifically, this family member indicated that around the time Birchmore was a freshman in high school, she would tell him her that she was meeting with Farwell so that he could help her with her homework. I've reviewed a text message exchange between Farwell and Birchmore from June 17, 2019, where the two discuss how Farwell had helped her test prep at the library. Farwell told Birchmore that she should have told him that she was interested in having sex with him that day. Birchmore told him that she was scared to speak up. Farwell then asked her, "Do you think I wouldn't want to fuck you?" Birchmore responded, "Yes, and like, because of my age, I didn't want you to be like, no, what the fuck?" Farwell then told her that I understand that. In a conversation from April 5, 2020, Farwell told Birchmore that he knew he wanted to take her virginity when he started helping her with schoolwork. Additionally, on February 21, 2020, Birchmore and Farwell reminisced about when they first became sexually active. Doesn't have a sister, does he? God, I hope not. Again, this is making me madder and madder because that dipshit lied and said that he didn't find anything. How the hell were the feds able to pull this so easily? But oh no, none of this was found during the internal investigation. Birchmore, I listened to better back then though. I wish it had been a year sooner after helping you study at the library. You still listen and give me whatever I want, baby. Oh God, didn't even make you wait a year after that. And good, but I don't think you're going to get what you want next time, so of course I will, I'll just take it. That's what you think, good luck with that. What was the first day you said, "Oh my God, I want this guy to be my first, I want to feel him inside me"? Yeah, so 2012, I finally decided I was going to try and find a way to fuck you and just wasn't sure how. How did you feel when I asked you to make your dream come true? Amazing. Absolutely would have fucked you in 2012. She was 14. Agents have also interviewed one of Birchmore's childhood friends that hereinafter referred to as Person 3. They confirmed that Birchmore would meet Farwell to help her with her homework. Moreover, Person 3 indicated that Birchmore confided in them that she was meeting with Farwell in early high school to have sex with him in his police car or his truck. Evidence that Farwell committed federal offences or possibly committed federal offences by submitting false information to obtain wages from time spent engaging in sex acts with Birchmore. On multiple occasions, Farwell engaged in sex acts with Birchmore while on duty as a Stoughton police officer. To cover this up, he falsely represented that he had worked certain hours, when in truth he had in fact was not working. Rather, he was engaging in sex acts and spending time with Birchmore. Accordingly, Farwell's misconduct was also part of a scheme to obtain wages from the Stoughton Police Department, an agency of the town of Stoughton, through false statements and material omissions regarding the hours he was on duty and working as a police officer. Ironically, I have less of an issue with that. I'm sure that there are plenty of police officers across the globe that lie about how many hours they put in so they can get overtime for not working or shit like that. Using that time to fuck a minor, on the other hand. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore indicate that on multiple occasions, Farwell left work during his shifts to meet and at times engage in sexual activity with Birchmore. These encounters occurred at various locations, including Birchmore's previous home in Stoughton, her more recent apartment in Canton, a Costco parking lot in Stoughton, a Five Guys parking lot in Canton. Examples and dates of these approximate start times and encounters are listed. They have evidence of each of these instances. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 25 instances that they've got, that at the least they have some evidence of. Holy shit. All right, I just want to say thank you to the 51 of you watching over on Rumble and the 68 of you watching on YouTube. We're in this together for tonight, but if you wouldn't mind just double checking whether or not you've hit the like button, maybe just double check if you've subscribed. Help me get some of my soul back after this. I review messages that reveal that both Farwell and Birchmore knew that some of their encounters occurred while Farwell was on duty. For example, on April 10, he wrote, "I'm going to sneak away from work quick." On November 24, 2020, Birchmore asked Farwell if he would be on duty when the two were scheduled to meet. He responded, "Yes, I'll be on the clock." Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, which precede several of the above-listed encounters, contain statements indicating that the purpose for at least some of the encounters was to engage in sex acts. For example, on several occasions, Farwell sent Birchmore text messages directing her to act as if she was being raped during the ensuing encounter. Look, I'm not one to judge people on sexual proclivities. I'm just not. I've never really thought that was appropriate. What you do within the confines of your own bedroom is up to you, provided it's between two consenting adults. Yeah, the guy's a total perv. This is disgusting. He just wanted to get caught with all those public rendezvous. What a piece of shit. Look, potentially, Farwell's scheme to defraud caused interstate wire communications. The town of Stoughton pays Stoughton police officers on a bi-weekly... Oh, so that's how they got the wire fraud. Yeah, the Costco parking lot. In or around 2020 and January 21, Farwell received his paychecks via direct deposit to his account at USAA Federal Savings Bank. The paycheck funds originated with Rockland Trust Bank and were deposited into his account via automatic clearinghouse. After each transfer... each of the transfers originated outside Massachusetts and or travelled through another state before terminating in Farwell's account. So because he lied about being on the job and he was overpaid, he induced them to commit. He induced commission of wire fraud and receive funds from interstate. I like how they're tacking that on. A lot of other scenarios, I'd be a little bit mad that they're trying to throw something like that in. But in this instance, I mean, look, we're supposed to give the defendants every benefit of the doubt. I say that constantly. But in this instance, where you already have evidence and you already have text messages showing that he was a complete and utter creep and deserves hellfire, I don't have so much of an issue with it, you know? And I don't really feel like I'm being too hypocritical, you know? Accordingly, it appears that by engaging in sexual conduct when he should have been performing official duties as a police officer and obtaining pay for that time, he may have committed wire fraud in violation of Title 18, Section 1343. He killed Birchmore to prevent her from disclosing information about his commission of federal crimes and possible commission of federal crimes. As detailed below, there is evidence that Farwell killed Birchmore on February 1, 2021 to prevent her from disclosing the information about his possible commission of federal crimes listed above. On October 5, 2020, Person 1 told Birchmore that Farwell's wife was pregnant with the couple's third child. Person 1 indicated that the baby was due in February of 2021. Birchmore responded that she was going to tell Farwell's wife that he's been having sex with her for nearly 10 years. Okay. I get it. I understand why. But I do feel, and I'm in no way trying to victim blame here, but telling the wife of a creep who has groomed you for the last decade and a half that he's been fucking you since before they were married may not have been the smartest of ideas. All I'm saying. Why are they stacking these dumb charges when the murder seems like the most important part? Always think they're pulling something when they don't stick to the top charges. In this instance, I think it's just they want to put him away for as long as possible. I mean, it is mandatory life in prison or the death sentence. But I think at this point, sounds like she'd become jealous of the wife and wanted a kid with him. Kinda, and that's what I think is an issue there. Honestly, I'm not sure if it's about if it's whether or not it's going to his character or because, to be fair, on the basis of the charge that they've already got, I see that they would be able to bring in the details about them having sex on the job and all that sort of stuff anyway. I'm thinking that it was basically to shore up a way for certain pieces of evidence to come in. That may or may not otherwise be admissible and relevant to the charge. That's the only thing that I can think of, because you're right. There's given the ultimate penalty for having committed murder of a witness, it kind of does seem unnecessary. So unless they're just throwing the book for the sake of it, I think there's probably a strategic tactical advantage to what additional evidence they can bring in if they bring those wire charges. In summary, electronic messages between Farwell and Birchmore for the period beginning on or about 5 October 2020 through to January 21 indicate Birchmore presented Farwell with an ultimatum. Farwell would have to agree to engage in unprotected sex with Birchmore with the goal of conceiving a child, and in return, Birchmore would not disclose the relationship. Oh shit. That proves motive? Yeah, I think so. If they've got text messages that show that he provided the ultimatum, that gives more credence to her stringing him up in terms of that text message before, because that's about the right time. Birchmore had already told others that Farwell had been having sex with her since before she was 16 years old, which she knew was a crime. And Birchmore knew that Farwell was leaving work to have sex with her while he was on duty as a Stoughton police officer. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, Birchmore sent Farwell a photo of her ovulation schedule, and the two started discussing timing their sexual encounters around specific times in Birchmore's cycle. What the fuck, dude? Were you planning to kill her already? Why would you... The following is an excerpt from a text message on October 12. I said that the agreement was once, that was our compromise. I asked if we could try this month, didn't realize that you meant you fucked me once, lol. And then I asked if I could try through this year and you said you'd think about it. Okay, so he agreed to try and knock her up once. Conversation continued on October 13. Our compromise was to try once. Yeah, it was to try this month. So you're thinking about the second thing I said as for the rest of the year. You said try once this month. If it happens, it's meant to be. Those are the exact words. So she backed him into a corner to get pregnant. Again, I'm in no way victim blaming or victim bashing or anything like that. This is a very dangerous situation. Text messages indicate that a few weeks later, Birchmore continued to discuss trying to get pregnant. On November 3, 2020, she asked Farwell if they could try again that month or whether they would need to talk in person about that. He responded that's an in-person discussion. On November 5, Birchmore asked Farwell if he had given any more thought to the prior conversation and told him that she thought of a way that they could both be happy. How would you feel about us having a baby, you being there and signing the birth certificate? There's never going to be a need for your information anyway, so you'll be safe there. And I won't talk shit about her or your kids. That way we both get what we want. You asked me the other day what I wanted, and I didn't want to give it to you in the form of an ultimatum, so I'm trying to do it with you as a compromise type of thing. Can you tell me what you thought of? I'm down for discussing it in person, but the more I thought about it, you signing it really isn't going to have an impact on you because of the way things are going to fall in the future. Okay, that's an in-person discussion. In November 2020, after Birchmore learned that she was not yet pregnant, she asked Farwell about continuing to try to conceive for another month. On multiple occasions, he told Birchmore that they would need to discuss the topic in person. He continued to meet with Birchmore in person and in text messages, suggesting that they remain sexually active. Was she challenged mentally? I don't think so, but she was manipulated from a young age. On December 28, 2020, Birchmore sent Farwell a text message informing him that she was pregnant. She sent a photo of a poster that she made to celebrate the pregnancy. Kind of sweet. Congrats. We are... I think that's supposed to be going. We are going to be parents. Farwell's immediate response to Birchmore's disclosure about the pregnancy was, I have literally nothing to say right now. How could you express that in a text when I said that I don't appreciate it? Farwell and Birchmore then argued about the pregnancy in the following text conversation. How far are you, regardless of how far we're keeping it, but 3.5 weeks, which means I conceived this month. Okay, well, we need to talk then. No shit, that's obvious, and the birth certificate is being signed. Or hers isn't. She wanted him to sign the birth certificate, otherwise she was going to tell his wife so that his daughter wasn't going... Wow, okay. No, I'm mad you're acting how you are over a choice we both made. I'm mad you act like you gave anyone a choice. Lamau, oh, so you didn't have a choice. Per usual, you make and do whatever you want. All I did was say, can I have it? You said, have what? And you said, you know, and I said, you know what I'm asking for, and you stood up and said, yeah. We've been doing that. You mad she's due in February and I am in September, and you don't know how you're going to be there for both of us. And you need to be there during the labour for me too. At the time of the text messages, I know that Farwell's wife was 8 months pregnant with his third child. Based on the context of this text and prior messages, I believe Birchmore was referring to the birth certificate for the child that Farwell's wife was then carrying. Because your kid should matter. Late August, early September. You truly are the worst person on the face of the earth. Motherfucker. After the foregoing conversation, Birchmore again threatened to expose the truth about Farwell's prior sexual abuse and their ongoing relationship. He responded by indicating that Birchmore had threatened him, causing him to agree to impregnate her. For the past week and a half, the doctor wasn't right, but now she was, and you just throw it at me because now you've got me. You honestly have absolutely no idea how to treat people. I've fucking bent over backwards for you. Now you want to act like this was some free will decision. You've threatened me from the word go. If I didn't do and give you what you wanted, you would ruin me. I made a deal with you and you changed the terms at every turn. We will deal with this tomorrow. Is it bad for me to call both sides of this case trash people, but she doesn't deserve to die? On the other hand, he does. I'll put it this way. For me, when I go into a case, I start with assuming that both parties have clean hands. And then over time, it's not even scales. It's like a bar graph, like a, for lack of a better term, the how full the gas tank is as to how much I think that the person is, I don't want to say reputable or like clean hands or something like that. What I'm trying to say is my opinion of them sort of like varies. He's way down here, okay? She's slowly, because it's clear that certain things were not okay. She definitely did not deserve to die. Yeah, she trapped him and is extorting him, whatever, needs to be called in the last few minutes. Yeah. On December 29, 2020, Farwell and Birchmore met to talk in person. After this meeting, Birchmore said Farwell sent him a text alluding to a physical encounter. Made me really uncomfortable and stressed out and scared when you were next to me because I thought you were going to hit me after you said what you said and took things out of my hand. That's why I was crying. I know you wouldn't, but it still scared me. At least 3 witnesses have disclosed that in the weeks before her death, Birchmore told them that Farwell was physically violent with Birchmore and when they discussed the pregnancy. According to death records, Birchmore was 4 feet 10 inches tall. Damn, tiny. Military records indicate that Farwell is 6 feet 4 inches. Person 2 reported that in the weeks prior to Birchmore's death, she was over the moon about her pregnancy. According to Person 2, Birchmore had decreased her coffee consumption, discussed winter clothes for the future baby, and engaged in FaceTime calls with Person 2 while selecting baby clothes. Person 2 indicated that Birchmore was nervous about telling Farwell about the pregnancy, but that she eventually did. In January 21, Birchmore called Person 2 and stated that after telling Farwell about the baby, he told her that he wished she would just die and he wants nothing to do with the baby. According to the information Birchmore shared with Person 2, Farwell put Birchmore in a headlock and grabbed her cell phone from her hand. Person 2 told Birchmore to distance herself from Farwell given that how he was dangerous, a police officer, and obviously did not care about the law. However, Person 2 was also aware that Birchmore appeared to be attached to Farwell because he had taken her virginity when she was 15 years old. Person 3 also indicated that in the days before her death, Birchmore disclosed that Farwell had been violent. Approximately 10 days before her death, Birchmore and Person 3 went to Walmart to buy a baby stroller for Birchmore's future child. Birchmore was excited about the baby and asked Person 3 to be the child's godmother. Birchmore told Person 3 that the day prior, Farwell had gotten angry with her for showing him a fetal sonogram. According to Birchmore, Farwell told her, "That's not my child, I don't want anything really to do with you." And then Farwell pushed her to the ground. Person 3 told Birchmore to end the relationship with Farwell. They indicated that Birchmore seemed scared but not ready to leave Farwell because Farwell had been such a big part of her life for several years. Additionally, Person 7, Birchmore's longtime therapist, reported that in the weeks before her death, she reported that Farwell got upset about the impending pregnancy and shoved her. In addition to these descriptions of Farwell's violence targeting Birchmore from Person 2, 3, and 7, Birchmore's text messages to Person 1 further confirmed the escalating violence. On January 10, 2021, Birchmore sent Person 1 a text message indicating that she'd recently argued with Farwell. Birchmore told Person 1 that during the argument, Farwell took her cell phone out of her hand 3 times and refused to give it back to her. Birchmore also indicated that Farwell took her computer out of her hand and used his body to shove her. In January 21, the pressure on Farwell increased as a result of Birchmore's pregnancy. Birchmore tried to communicate with Farwell regarding her due date, ultrasounds, genetic testing, gender reveals, and doctor's appointments. In his text responses, Farwell was unresponsive or dismissive of the topics, or he appeared to ignore them. On January 4, Birchmore told Farwell that she was going to the doctor the next day and asked if she wanted to know how the appointment went. Farwell did not directly respond to that question. On January 5, Birchmore asked Farwell to come over so that they could discuss her estimated due date, the week of her first ultrasound, her conversation with her doctor, and her first appointment. Farwell did not respond directly to that request. Text messages from January 3 show that Birchmore asked Farwell if the child could have his last name. However, he told her that he would not discuss the issue via text message because he didn't want anything in writing, presumably. I have a compromise for you. You don't need to sign the birth certificate if the baby can have your last name. Not discussing it in text, we can talk in person. Another text message on January 6th, she began to ask Farwell what their family would look like. You don't have to sign the birth certificate if I'm allowed to at least list you and they can have your name and I won't move to Stoughton or the town where Farwell's family resides. I won't bitch about it holidays, but I would like you to come a few days before Christmas and Easter so you can see what they get from me, and I don't want you to leave them out. And 3, if you want to try and support them, we can talk about that, but I do want you to see them. I feel like I'm trying to be as fair as I can, and I want you there for labour. I'm standing my ground on. Last name, asterisk, asterisk. Okay. Okay, we can discuss this more in person. Okay, I figured. Does that sound okay to you? Farwell's reluctance to discuss the pregnancy via text message is significant because it is inconsistent with Farwell and Birchmore's long history of text message discussions regarding seemingly private topics. For example, there are thousands of text messages between Farwell and Birchmore in which Farwell discusses details regarding his work as a police officer, his sexual fantasies that were predominantly violent, and included many references to choking and rape and graphic details about their previous sexual encounters. It's a lot to think about. It's so much more than you ever asked for, and still less than what any other girl would ask for. On January 20, 2021, person 2 called the Stoughton Police Department, and in that call referenced the sexual relationship between Birchmore and Farwell. After learning about this call, a fact which suggested at least some aspect of Farwell's illicit conduct may have been exposed to the PD, Farwell sent Birchmore a text messages revealing his extreme anger. He sent a series of text messages with expletives telling Birchmore that he thought no one knew about the relationship, that she had no clue how bad this was, and indicating that he does not know if he needs to worry about other disclosures. Dude, your fucking friend called my job Sandra, what the fuck? Your friend just called my fucking work to complain about me, what the fuck? I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? I literally just woke up. Did you steal from her? Nope. What is going on? You also told me that no one knew about us, yet she claimed we are fucking. It's literally nothing. It's not nothing. She called my job. That's insane. Why would she call and drop my fucking name, Sandra? Like, what do I have to do with you that you're not... What do I have to do with you not giving her something? Like, you have no idea how bad it is what she did. I literally can't believe this is even real life. Like, what else do I have to worry about now? What other friends will do something tomorrow? During the investigation, I interviewed person 5, an employee of the Stoughton Police Department, who received the call from person 2. Person 5 indicated that they took down person 2's name and information and gave it to Farwell. Person 5 indicated that Farwell immediately got angry and pissed off and ordered person 5 not to talk about this to anyone and to never talk about it again. Person 5 described Farwell's reaction as atypical and not consistent with his normal behaviour. On January 24, 2021, approximately 1 week prior to Birchmore's death, she communicated with person 8 about Farwell. So the father came by last night. It was like a complete 360 change. 180, yeah, lol. Good or bad? Good but unexpected. So it kind of threw me off and made me feel a little uncomfortable, but that's because of how things were going. He asked me if I'd give him a key and said that if I keep it a secret, he'll be around and see them and all that. So it's somewhere. Then he looked in my closet and in the bathroom, but I don't know why I haven't figured that out. We started to heart, then work called him, so he had to leave. Oh, and he bought me a ginger ale because I ran out. What about the birth certificate? I think he's signing it, not sure. He's coming back again this week. But it was like a complete 180 from where we were at. Based on my training and expertise, I believe that Farwell's shift in demeanour on or about this date was his attempt to appease Birchmore until he could kill her. Additionally, the foregoing text messages, considered in light of other evidence, suggest that Farwell was making a plan to kill her. Part of the plan included asking Birchmore to give him a key and keep it secret. Another part of the plan was inspecting various rooms of Birchmore's apartment, including the closet, to determine whether they contained items or presented options for how and when to kill Birchmore. Farwell's request for a key for Birchmore's apartment in the week leading up to her death is corroborated by other evidence. I reviewed text messages between Farwell and Birchmore from January 24, 2021, in which Birchmore gave Farwell the passcode to her building's front door. On February 4, 2021, Canton police found Birchmore's body next to the closet door with a duffel bag strapped around her neck. The strap was wrapped around the closet door handle. I have your key when you want it, when you want it. Additionally, I have reviewed records from Walmart that suggest that Birchmore did in fact pay approximately $2 to have a key copied at approximately 11:10 a.m. on January 24, 2021. Really only costs $2 to get a key copied? Huh. A bit more expensive here. According to text messages Birchmore and Farwell exchanged on January 29, Birchmore again gave Farwell the passcode to the building's front door, and Farwell verified that the code was the general one given to the entire building, not just one assigned to her. Farwell requesting and or accepting a key from Birchmore's apartment was a sudden change from recent conversations. I reviewed text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, one as recent as October 2020, in which Farwell told her that he did not think it was a good idea for him to keep a key to a new Canton apartment. In a conversation with a friend, person 9, on January 24, Birchmore indicated she was surprised that Farwell was now requesting a key to her apartment. Holy crap, my throat. Still got another 20 pages of this. Did it go good with him? I got hit with a shocker question. Can I call you? So what really well, surprisingly, he asked if he could have a key. I am basically said he'll be around as long as I keep it secret, don't tell anyone. But he did admit that I do have the upper hand in the situation, which isn't a good thing, but I'm trying to and not be that person, if you know what I mean. Excuse me. I get it. Are you going to give him a key? I just made a copy of it. Yeah, that's good. I'm not going to give it to him yet, but he also brought me a ginger ale last night like I asked him to. He's coming around. A lot more than I thought he was going to, yes. I still have to verify the PIN for him to get into the apartment if he rings me and I don't answer. Like last night, he opened my closet for something and then he went to my bathroom looking at my bathroom, and then I have a dolly in my living room, and then he asked why I had it. It was just really odd him looking around. I don't know. That's weird. Yeah, it was really weird. According to text messages between Farwell and Birchmore 2 days before Birchmore's death, she continued to engage Farwell about planning the birth of their child. On January 30, 2021, Birchmore asked Farwell if she could tell him the baby names that she was considering. He told her he would rather discuss the topic in person. Leading up to 1 February, Birchmore planned for other important baby-related events, such as who would care for her cats when she went into labour. She ordered baby items and conducted Google searches. Plus long for baby to be born. Related to her pregnancy and future child-rearing decisions. She also planned for newborn baby photos and official pregnancy announcement, which she planned to do on Valentine's Day, as well as a gender reveal. She also made plans for more immediate future, scheduling an OBGYN appointment for February 10. It really is. Honestly, this is horrifying. Hey, Aussie Tank. And she asked Farwell to help shovel out her car during the impending snowstorm. The planning is of note because it indicates that shortly before her death, she was doing more things that indicated her plans for the future. It's also important because it reveals a level of care for her pets that is inconsistent with the circumstances of her death. Specifically, when police found Birchmore's body in the apartment, her cats were present. She made no arrangements for the animals. During the investigation, agents also learned that Birchmore had been taking classes in preparation for applying to nursing school. On February 1, 2021 at 12:19 p.m, she sent Farwell text messages indicating she was going to be released early from her job at Sharon Park Schools. Farwell told her that he would not be in the area that day. Later in the afternoon, Birchmore told Farwell that she had received an early gift in the mail and that she was not planning to have a baby shower until late March because of the ongoing COVID pandemic. She told Farwell that once she learned whether they were having a boy or a girl, she wanted him to purchase clothes for the child to wear when he or she came home from the hospital. Investigators have reviewed surveillance video from Birchmore's Canton apartment building. On February 1, she is seen on the video at approximately 5:01 p.m. accepting a DoorDash order, and then again going outside briefly and returning with a snow brush at 5:31. The last time she's seen alive on video is at 5:33 p.m. Later that evening at approximately 9:08 p.m, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message asking whether he could come by for a second. At approximately 9:10, Birchmore sent Farwell a text message indicating that when he arrived at her apartment, the door would be open for him. This is the last known outgoing message sent from Birchmore's cell phone. Surveillance video shows Farwell entering Birchmore's Canton apartment at approximately 9:14 p.m. In the surveillance video, he's seen wearing street clothes, a hoodie with the hood up, and a face mask that is similar to the medical face mask that people use during the pandemic. I'm aware that the electronic timestamp on the apartment complex video surveillance is off by approximately 13 minutes. The surveillance video sets forth in this affidavit account for this 30-minute difference, and are therefore the approximate real times of the events. Reviewed the Massachusetts State Police investigative reports, which tentatively identify Farwell as the person in the surveillance footage entering Birchmore's apartment on February 1. I've also reviewed the report regarding state police detectives' interviews of Farwell, in which Farwell admitted that he went to Birchmore's apartment. In that interview, Farwell stated that he had been there between 9:10 and 9:30 p.m. I've interviewed multiple witnesses who have each indicated that Farwell resisted wearing a mask during the pandemic. One of these witnesses stated that Farwell would only wear a mask when on duty and required by department policy to do so. Hey, LB. It is something on par with Lifetime. Honestly, I feel so horrible in the situation. Video surveillance recording shows Farwell left Birchmore's apartment at 9:43 p.m. On February 4, Canton police officers conducted a wellbeing check at Birchmore's apartment. One of Birchmore's co-workers called the police because Birchmore had failed to show up to work that day. When officers arrived, they found her body seated on the floor in a reclined position with a duffel bag strapped tight around her neck. That strap was connected to her closet doorknob, the closet that Farwell had inspected approximately 1 week earlier. At least one first responder quickly concluded that she'd been deceased for days. I've reviewed the crime scene photographs that depict Birchmore wearing the same clothing that she was wearing when she was seen in the video, entering an apartment on February 1, 2021 at approximately 5:33 p.m. This is consistent with Birchmore having died later that same evening. According to police reports, when Birchmore's body was found, her cell phone was on the floor located approximately 12 inches from her right hand and 6 inches from her bent right knee. I've reviewed the data on her phone. A log report indicates that the phone was locked from 9:13 p.m. until the device powered off because of battery loss on February 3, 2021. On February 1, 2021, while still locked, Birchmore's phone recorded a screenshot of a black screen at 9:18 p.m. In other words, after sending a final text message to Farwell to tell him the door was unlocked, Birchmore's phone locked and was not unlocked until after the device was recovered by police. Health data on the phone indicates that the last movement recorded by the phone occurred at 9:40 p.m. That was 3 minutes before Farwell was captured on surveillance video leaving Birchmore's apartment. Specifically, this data indicates that the mechanism that Apple uses to record movement registered 8 steps at approximately 9:40 p.m. These recorded steps occurred while Farwell was still in Birchmore's apartment. The phone recorded no additional steps between 9:40 p.m. and the time that it was recovered by the first responders on February 4. As noted above, the first responders ultimately found the phone next to her body. Based on my review of the frequency of Birchmore's phone use over the weeks and months and years leading up to her death, her failure to access her phone is inconsistent with her usual habits when alive and awake. I reviewed Birchmore's phone use for the hours leading up to the death on February 1, 2021. Based on my training and expertise, I'm aware that Apple iPhones can be used to track and retain health-related data of the user, including but not limited to steps taken. I've also interviewed multiple witnesses who have reported on Birchmore's frequent, almost incessant phone use. In fact, one witness referred to Birchmore's phone as her third hand. That's bad. Following are some of the items in Birchmore's phone data from the hours before her death. This evidence appears to be inconsistent with Birchmore, a pregnant woman choosing to die by suicide that day. Birchmore communicated with a photographer regarding the timeline for booking a newborn for photography shoot. Birchmore texted a friend to obtain baby clothes for her, and she performed a Google search for Cubby Kids furniture. So approximately an hour and a half before he shows up, she's texting a friend asking for baby clothes. And then approximately an hour before, she's Googling kids' furniture. Damn it, I've got a gas bubble sitting right here. The condition of an items found in Birchmore's apartment were inconsistent with her dying by suicide. I've interviewed family members who helped clean Birchmore's apartment in the days following her death. Some of the things they observed were also inconsistent with her deciding to die by suicide. For example, during their first visit, they noted that Birchmore had been in the middle of doing laundry when she died, with a load of wet clothes in the washing machine and another load drying in the dryer. Additionally, they observed a homemade sign saying, "Congratulations, you're going to be a father." That sign had an ultrasound photo on it, and it was sprinkled with glitter. How much you want to bet that's what triggered him off? Additionally, in Birchmore's apartment, family members observed a new baby stroller that was still in its package. They also observed homemade and store-bought onesies for the baby. One onesie read, "We're going to be parents," with a set of footprints underneath. Birchmore had packages that had been delivered recently, including clothing and other supplies for her baby. Birchmore had ordered items shortly before her death, and packages continued to arrive in the following days after her death. Finally, family members found a necklace that belonged to Birchmore lying on the floor of her bedroom. The necklace consisted of a thin gold chain with a pink flamingo charm. The family members observed that the necklace's chain was broken, but not at the clasp. There was also a large clump of hair on the chain. From my review of the crime scene photos, I observed that whilst the strap is still around Birchmore's neck, the necklace was broken, hanging from the left side of her neck. The necklace's charm was on the right side of her abdomen. Ooh. the county medical examiner pathologist, hereinafter referred to as a medical examiner, performed an autopsy on Birchmore's body. The medical examiner determined that Birchmore's cause of death was asphyxia by hanging. The medical examiner ruled Birchmore's manner of death a suicide. The medical examiner's written autopsy report noted that Birchmore's hyoid bone, the U-shaped bone around the front of the neck, was fractured on the right side and that she suffered from petechial hemorrhages of the bulbar and palpebral conjunctivae. Her eyes were bleeding? Hang on, let me just... Her eyelids were bleeding. And the bulbar is found on the eyeball itself. Additionally, the medical examiner concluded that Birchmore had a hemorrhage on the left-hand side on her left sternothyroid muscle. Medical examiner's autopsy report further confirmed that Birchmore was approximately 8 to 10 weeks pregnant at the time of her death. The autopsy included toxicology testing. The results of the test were negative for all substances except sertraline, which was explained by antidepressants that she'd been prescribed. Fuck, and sertraline's not... sertraline can be rough as well, just on its own. As part of this investigation, the government retained Dr. William Smock. I was always going to do it. As an expert to independently review the crime scene photos, autopsy photos, and the medical examiner's autopsy report. Dr. Smock is an emergency medical residency and forensic fellowship trained physician with more than 40 years of experience in forensic evaluation of injuries, crime scenes, and forensic evaluation and reconstruction of wounds, including anaphylactic death-related deaths. So you've got two highly qualified medical examiners that say that the county one is full of shit. You've got Barden doing an independent autopsy on behalf of the family for the wrongful death suit, and you've got this guy who's got 40 years of experience in forensic evaluation saying that's homicide. Remind me, was it this case or was it the Reed case where the supervisors were joking and having a go at a police officer for saying, oh, we should have put more pressure on the medical examiner to get... Pretty sure it was the Reed case? Like, I know I'm being facetious. In my review of Birchmore's phone data, I noticed several photos of Birchmore in which she was wearing this necklace. Okay. They're getting a whole new police force. His training, experience, and position as a police surgeon, instructor at the Louisville Metro Police Academy, instructor at the U.S. Department of Justice, a professor of medical emergency, medical director of the EMS service, physician and medical advisor to the FBI and U.S. Marshal Service, and an assistant medical examiner to the Kentucky Medical Examiners, includes the emergency treatment, investigation, and reconstruction of asphyxia-related deaths and the analysis of crime scene for evidence of alteration. Holy shitballs. This guy is eminently qualified. He has treated and evaluated thousands of patients, both fatally and non-fatally injured, who have experienced the physiological consequences of asphyxia, including strangulation. Dr. Smock has written, lectured extensively, and trained thousands of law enforcement officers, physicians, nurses, judges, and attorneys on evidence collection, crime scene investigation, the analysis and reconstruction of wounds, injury mechanisms, and the medical risks and consequences of asphyxia. Based on his review of the evidence, Dr. Smock has made several observations and conclusions that call into question the prior finding that Birchmore's cause of death was suicide, and instead further confirm that Birchmore's cause of death was homicide. Just like the dog bite expert. But does he save cats from trees? First, Dr. Smock concluded that it's only logical to conclude that the fracture of the right superior horn of Birchmore's hyoid bone is not consistent with the position in which the first responders found her sitting. A sitting hanging is called an incomplete hanging, meaning only partial body weight is applied to the neck ligature. Dr. Smock's review of hundreds of cases of hangings in the forensic medical literature found no reported cases of hyoid bone fractures in seated women. Fractures of hyoid bone are more commonly seen in strangulation assaults and in hangings with full body weight applied to the ligature, but not in seated hangings. Wonder what skeletons are in his closet. Probably never find them. Are you serious right now? Stop chewing on your ass. Second, Dr. Smock noted that during the autopsy, a pattern imprint was documented on Birchmore's right upper chest. The pattern imprint was the consequence of a buckle or buckles from the ligature strap being forced downward onto her chest. The presence of this pattern imprint is not consistent with the ligature hanging. Rather, the presence of the pattern is consistent with blunt force trauma from an assault. When first responders found Birchmore's body, the buckle responsible for the imprint was observed just below her right ear. However, the location of the imprint on her chest is not consistent with an incomplete ligature hanging. With everything going on, how are they going to find enough people unfamiliar with this case to be on a jury? Don't know that they'll be able to, fish, honestly. This is going to be tough. Although, to be fair, it's federal, so they could potentially move it out of state and use a completely independent jury. Similar to Gabby Petito. When the first responders found her, yeah, so there's an imprint on her chest of a buckle that was later found up near her ear, which would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. And she'd have to have zero will to live, be in a reclined position and not save herself from dying. A 2-year-old could figure that out. That's why when I read that she was sitting down and strangled, that it makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, yeah. Third, Dr. Smock reviewed the autopsy photos that depict Birchmore with areas of skin missing from the inferior and lateral aspects of her nose, consistent with abrasions. These types of injuries are commonly seen in cases of suffocation when the victim moves their nose back and forth in an effort to breathe. Fourth, Dr. Smock noted that Birchmore was in the habit of always wearing a chain necklace with a flamingo pendant. The chain was found broken around her neck. The breaking of the chain is consistent with a struggle. Dr. Smock, based on his education, experience, training, and his review of the materials in the case, opined, with a reasonable degree of medical and scientific certainty, there's the magic words, people, there's the magic words. Reasonable degree of medical and scientific certainty. And you notice, she said both. Didn't say a reasonable degree of medical certainty, a reasonable degree of medical and scientific certainty. That's the way that it's supposed to be used in court. I'm sorry, that was just a little, like, that's a pet peeve of mine when we watch trials and they say, oh, well, I can safely say to a certain degree of certainty. Okay, fine. Is that medical or scientific, or should it be both? Move it to another state and a federal district. That's what I think would be the most appropriate thing. That the cause of her death was asphyxia and the manner of her death was homicide. On February 6, 2021, 2 days after the police found her body in the apartment, the detectives interviewed Farwell. The interview occurred in the parking lot of the Stoughton Elementary School. During the interview, he made several false statements about his relationship with Birchmore. Farwell told officers that he was involved in a sexual relationship with Birchmore, but claimed the relationship only began in 2020. Based on this investigation, his statements to detectives were false. No shit, they've got text messages proving you fucked her long before 2020. As described above, Farwell began having sex with Birchmore in 2013 and continued to have sex with her until near her death. Farwell told detectives that he had only had sex with Birchmore 2 or 3 times in the previous year. This statement was also false. Based on the text messages about them trying to get pregnant, they had sexual intercourse at least 10 occasions between January 1 and February 1, 2021. Farwell also told detectives that he had not been the father of the unborn child because the last time he'd had intercourse with her was October 2020. This statement was also false. Set forth below is a text message conversation between Farwell and Birchmore on November 18, in which they discussed the upcoming sexual encounter. I'm going to try for tonight. I've been in interviews all day from the murder. Sorry. Exciting. Saucy. Okay, I'm running to the store and doing something for you then. I hope you can come. What are you doing for me? Lol, shaving. Are you planning on rolling me over? I need to know what you want if you come. If you want me to roll you. Would you want me to use a condom if I roll you? I don't have any, lol. I never picked up any. This is November. Isn't she already trying to get pregnant? You want me to just take what you do and try and say no? I know being told no is your favorite. Say no. Hang on, what happened there? 35. Huh. It would appear that the filed document is missing half a page. Well, that's not good. That's exactly it. Yeah. I mean, that's why I can't get over this dipshit, Nicholas Guarino, honestly saying, I looked through both of their phones and there were no text messages whatsoever. And then the feds get a hold of his 2 iPhones and his laptop, and there's the equivalent of 32,000 text messages over the period of like 10 and a half years. Was a page skipped, there's context missing. Yeah, that's the problem. I'm not sure if maybe it was just that how it was filed or whatever else, but it looks like something's been accidentally cut out. Stoughton Police Department, the law enforcement agency in the town where Birchmore lived her whole life before moving to Canton on or about December 1, 2020, has record of Birchmore being subject to this temporary mental health hospitalization only one time in May of 2020. Damn, there was something saucy in there too. That's annoying because I know that this is the official document because I pulled this one off the DOJ website. This is the one that's legitimately been filed. It sounds like he tried to turn around and say that she had severe mental issues. Morning, bye, friends. According to police records and information disclosed by person 7, on that day, Birchmore had gotten into a fight with a family member who called the police and reported Birchmore was going to harm herself. Police took Birchmore to hospital where she was evaluated and deemed not a risk of self-harm. She was released a few hours later. According to person 7, Birchmore stated that she was not suicidal, just angry at her family member. Additionally, I'm aware that minutes after her release from the unfounded section, Farwell and Birchmore engaged in a graphic sexual conversation. Yeah, so, as it turns out, I'm not clinically insane and they didn't have to section me against my will into a mental institution. Good, let's fuck. Oh my god. I like sticking my dick in crazy. Oh. Later, Birchmore apologised for worrying Farwell, and Farwell replied, I wasn't worried, I know you are fine. The Canton Police Department has no record of Birchmore. Yeah, look, Brittany, like I said when I started this, there was always going to be dark humour in this. It's how I cope with shit. No record of Birchmore being subject to temporary mental health hospitalisation. While there is evidence that indicates that Birchmore may have had suicidal ideations on a few occasions, which Farwell was likely knew about because he was exploiting her during that time, I was not aware of credible evidence of any suicidal ideations in the approximately 3 years leading up to her death. In fact, all the witnesses who agents interviewed about their interactions with Birchmore in the weeks leading up to her death suggested that during the period she was excited, optimistic, and involved in future planning. Person 7 had a therapy session with Birchmore on January 31. During that meeting, Person 7 screened her for any signs of depression or suicidal ideation. They found none. Person 7 had regular sessions with Birchmore and noted no signs of depression or suicidal ideation in the months leading up to her death. And her next appointment scheduled with Birchmore was for February 4. Additionally, Farwell told detectives that he had been trying to distance himself from Birchmore. This is inconsistent with evidence that in Birchmore's final days, he asked for a key to her apartment. I've also reviewed a text message from January 28, just days before her death, in which Farwell told her that when he came over that night, he would give her hugs. In that same conversation, he told her that he may not be able to visit her because he was at a death, and that was just, but that it was all good because we do them all the time. That's not creepy as all hell, is it? In addition, I reviewed a text message exchange between Birchmore and Farwell from January 29, in which Birchmore expressed joy at Farwell agreeing to engage in sexual activity with her again. I need to get on the next laid-back law. I would, but it's at like 2 a.m. in the morning for me. Item be 3 now because of daylight savings. Besides, between Ian covering it and Melanie Little and Danny and I don't really give a shit what I've got to say. I'm still shocked that there's like 65 people watching this as it is. Following Birchmore's death, the Stoughton Police Department placed Farwell on administrative leave. Around that time, Farwell met a co-worker, person 4, at a local bar. During that meeting, he told person 4 that he had a sexual relationship with Birchmore. However, according to person 4, at no point during the conversation did he express any sadness, grief, or remorse about her death. Well, yeah, because he probably felt a release of pressure. Giggity. What a creep. Farwell told person 4 that he was angry with Massachusetts State Police for looking into him. At some point during the summer of 2021, person 4 attended a social gathering with Farwell, during which Farwell participated in a joke about Birchmore being hung on the door. You motherfucking creep. I'm aware that in Farwell's time as a Stoughton police officer then detective, he responded to unattended deaths. What an absolute creep. He had a history of choking her? Okay, there's 7 pages left of this, and then I've got to get to the affidavit in support of detaining him. We can do this, people. We can do this. Through this investigation, agents have identified evidence that Farwell expressed an interest in violent sex and has a history of choking Birchmore. On more than one occasion, Farwell asked Birchmore to perform his rape fantasies during sex, whereby she would pretend to be the victim of his simulated sexual assaults. Like I said, I don't kink shame people provided consenting adults do it behind closed doors. I will say that it raises my hackles just slightly to hear that a police officer has these kind of rape fantasies. That's a little beyond the pale for me. Like that's slightly disturbing. Moreover, I received text messages that indicate that over the course of their relationship, Farwell initiated the concept of choking Birchmore on numerous occasions. In 2020, the year preceding her death, text messages reveal that Farwell told Birchmore on at least 20 separate occasions that he would grab her throat, pin her down by the throat, squeeze her throat, or choke her during sexual activity. These messages were sent on the following dates. I'm not going to read through all of those dates, but damn, that's 20 separate occasions. Based on my review of his journal entries as early as, of Birchmore's journal entries as early as 2013, when she was just 16 years old, he introduced the idea of choking during their sexual encounters and discussions. Yeah, Serenity, that last thing there, the fact that he was doing that to a 16-year-old. One such example of Farwell promising to choke her occurred on October 14, 2020, when Farwell told Birchmore that he was going to cover her mouth during sex and maybe I'll choke you a little. In the same conversation, he told Birchmore, I'll grab you by the throat and say you won't say a word to anyone. On October 15, Farwell told Birchmore that during their next sexual encounter he was going to grab her by the throat and say, shut the fuck up now or I won't pull out. On November 13, 2020, Farwell and Birchmore again discussed choking. In that conversation, he said, maybe I'll hold you down by your throat while I pound you. And he asked her how tight he should squeeze and then stated that he wanted her to feel like, oh my God, this is really happening and I can't stop it. That's beyond level of BDSM. I don't class that as BDSM because BDSM is about domination and subservience in sexual gratification. This is sexual abuse. Birchmore's journal entries from 2013 through to 2020 detail a continuous and sometimes violent sexual relationship. Birchmore often journaled about Farwell using sex acts to punish her. According to her journal entries, Farwell would engage in forceful oral, vaginal, and anal sex acts to punish her for her mistakes, such as getting bad grades, having intercourse with other people, and failing to share her cell phone location with him. I've reviewed numerous text messages that Farwell sent Birchmore, including some from March of 2019, which are consistent with his practice of using certain sex acts to punish her for lying or being intimate with someone else. For example, in a text message conversation on March 7, 2019, he said, "You would have to take a serious pounding to make me happy. Is that for everything? No, you owe me 3. Oh my God. Based on my training and experience, I know that the acronym STFU means shut the fuck up. I'll give you a break and spread them out. Please not all on the same day. No, I'll give you like a week so you can feel it, and then as soon as it goes away, you'll get it again so you feel like that for a whole month. Not going to be a fun month. Not for you." Farwell's fixation on rape fantasies. People, keep in mind, I've completely demonetized this episode. Thank you to Jason for dropping the 10 memberships, but there's no way in fuck that I'm getting any sort of ad revenue from this. So, you know. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore reveal Farwell's interest in sexual assault. For example, in one text conversation on November 8, 2020, Farwell told Birchmore that he enjoyed having sex with her. When she asked what would be perfect for him, he replied, "You say no and make me take it, full R word." And yet he was still too much of a pussy to actually say rape. When Birchmore indicated she'd be amenable to that, he responded, "Doesn't matter, I'll do whatever I want anyways." During another text message conversation between Farwell and Birchmore, Farwell instructed Birchmore to call him daddy during sexual encounters. So first you've got him wanting to pretend that she's 14. You've got him wanting her to pretend that he's her older brother sneaking in to fuck her. And now he wants to be called daddy. Gonna be big boy prison.
Aussie has donated $20.00
Thank you, Aussie
and
Tank.
says SHHHH and take my money.
Appreciate it. How does demonetization work? I turned it off because I knew there was no... I turned the ads off and I turned off monetization because I knew that there was no way in hell this stream was going to be ad-friendly. Didn't hurt that Jason had already sent through 10 memberships beforehand either. In that conversation on October 18, 2020, Farwell told Birchmore that Daddy was going to engage in anal sex with her. He also indicated that when he was done, he was going to grab her hair, pull her head back, and tell her to keep her fucking mouth shut. Do you understand me? Based on my review of the text messages between Farwell and Birchmore, I believe that he was referring to rape as the R word in the message. No shit, Sherlock, but it's still funny that you had to spell that out. Text messages between Farwell and Birchmore include oh my god. Farwell's repeated demands that Birchmore set her phone's location sharing settings to allow him to always view her location. In these text conversations, he indicated that Birchmore needed to share this information in order to gain his trust back for alleged lies and infidelity. On March 11, 20...
Stingy has donated $2 and says, "I'll load up the laughter for tomorrow chat."
Thank you, Stingy. Oh, damn, an Aussie Tank dropping another membership. Appreciate that too, buddy.
Aussie has donated $1 gifted and says, "Gifted 1 law, news and laughter with Aussie Overlaw'd memberships."
No, look, generally not, unless it's, you know, some snotty rich girl going, "My daddy's really anal retentive. He won't give me he won't let me have an unlimited credit card." How'd she cheat? You said it right, Farwell. On March 11, 2019, Farwell asked Birchmore why her location was off and why he could no longer see it. On March 22, he asked Birchmore to reveal her location. When she responded that she was at 7-Eleven, he told her that he knew she was in Abington, and he asked multiple times why she would go there when Stoughton has 100 convenience stores. What's so wrong about Abington? Is that where your family is, maybe? On April 22, 2019, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message stating, I know you're hiding shit, your location's off again. Oh, there we go, finally got it up. Oh, excuse me. On June 22, 2019, Farwell sent Birchmore a text message asking why she turned off the location the other day. On July 5, he again reached out saying, I see your location's off again. Farwell apparently transitioned from wanting to track a location to prioritizing secrecy in July of 2020. You can turn your location back off if you want. It wasn't off, that's why I wasn't sure why I wasn't showing up. Then I just unshared and reshared it with you. You can have it. It's been a thing for years, lol. Okay. I don't care if you know where I am. I'm not doing anything I shouldn't be. My leg's shaking a shit ton right now. I'm feeling that. Tomorrow? Well, I know that I don't just really like any of that stuff Big Brother is always watching. I don't understand what you mean. I'm just saying iPhones keep track of way too much stuff, and I don't mean anything by it. Bullshit. The wife called you daddy once as a joke, and you said never do that again. Oh, this guy wants nothing but control, honestly. iCloud account contained disturbing images of violence and necrophilia. Who's worse, this or Vince? Oh, this by a long shot. Vince is just twisted and a freak, but this guy was actually using a far worse form of abuse of power, in my opinion. I'd put Vince about here. This dipshit's like here. During this investigation, pursuant to a federal search warrant, agents obtained and reviewed data from his iCloud account. Located on his account were several memes that indicate his interest in sexual intercourse with dead bodies. Oh boy. Okay. Firstly, a meme does not necessarily mean he has an interest in something. It's not a great look, but I'm not going to string him up by his nuts for that. But it's still disturbing as all hell. Located in his iCloud account was a meme that states, what does a pulse and an orgasm have in common? I don't care if she has either. Another meme states that if you fuck a corpse on a waterbed, it feels like they're participating. A meme glorifying a person who kills and sexually abuses someone who no one will miss. Lovely gentleman sounds like a serial killer. Yeah, getting worse, not gonna lie. Farwell's iCloud data also contain images that reveal his interest in domestic and sexual violence. A meme containing a photo of a woman with tape over her mouth states, duct tape turning no into since 1942. I mean, it would depend on the picture that's depicted in that. Because if it's like a nagging wife or something like that, that could be funny. But I'm gathering from the state of this that that's not how it was intended. iCloud data also includes images that could reveal his interest in strangulation. For example, one such image states, when she says, choke me daddy, and you get carried away and now she's dead. Oh, you motherfucker. There's also a screenshot of an image of a woman saying that she could not sleep, followed by a man choking her saying, good night, bitch. Holy fuck. The fuck is wrong with this guy? On February 9, 2021, after giving his personal cell phone to state police detectives, Farwell used his Stoughton police-issued cell phone to make and delete 2 Google searches. Oh, here we go. First, Farwell searched for and deleted, can iMessage be recovered by Cellbrite? Garano's in some shit here. Okay? The guy that legitimately said that none of these messages existed is also one of the guys that testified about house long to die in cold. House long to delete messages. His butt did the Google searches. Because that's an everyday search that someone would do. Yes, exactly my point. He then searched for and deleted, "Can you revoke consent in Massachusetts? I've identified text messages between Farwell and Birchmore in which Farwell directed Birchmore to destroy evidence of their sexual relationship. On March 11, 2019, he sent a text message reminding her to clear this all out. On March 19, 2019, he sent Birchmore texts about his desire to use sexual violence and pretend to rape her. At the end of this conversation, he sent her a text indicating he was going to bed and instructed her to clear this text. He wanted to kill someone he was sleeping with. His wife's lucky, sad Sandra had to die for this to come out." Oh, that's bad. Schlong. How schlong? How schlong will he be behind bars? I mean, it's either that or house host to destroy evidence, destroy phone evidence. On June 5, he directed Birchmore to make sure all of the text messages and Facebook messages had been deleted. Oh, I stand corrected. There were some social media ones. There were also text messages between Farwell and Birchmore in which Farwell directed Birchmore to destroy evidence regarding the beginning of the relationship. This would be evidence of Farwell's efforts to coerce her and entice Birchmore to engage in sexual intercourse when she was 15. Wish we'd just done it for real the first time. I know you do, baby. It would have been perfect. Yes. Was it still perfect the first time? Of course it was. Never thought you'd let me. I never thought you would. I wanted it so bad. So did I. I knew the day we made eye contact, I wanted you to fuck me. Wanted. You should have told me so we could have fucked so much sooner. Clear that part out, baby. I did. Good girl. Remainder of this page is blank. In keeping with Canton, he was ploughing in a sense. Oh no. Oh no. And here we are at the end. The information set forth above supports the government's motion to detain Matthew Farwell pending trial in this case. So that was the affidavit in support of his arrest. You know, I really wanted to get like one of those human-shaped punching bags just for when I'm really pissed off and I need to get out some, like, anger. But the wife said no. So, when this is all said and done, because I still have another affidavit to get through, but at least that one's relatively shorter by comparison, I'm going to go and quietly scream into a pillow and try not to wake the rest of the household. This motherfucker needs to burn. It'll be deleted in prison. They have standards in there. I don't know. You convicted him in your mind. Never be a good juror on this one. I don't think that anyone that... Honestly, I think that in this instance, any jury that hears this is putting him away. 6 months max post-conviction, we'll read about him being killed in prison. I'm not sure if he gets put into, like, solitary or whatever else. I don't know. Defendant Matthew Farwell, this is the United States motion for a memorandum in support of pretrial detention. So this is tomorrow's funny day, 2 days of this kind of stuff is eh. What was yesterday? No, yesterday we did our trial rewatch. F prison set time for a date with Woodchipper. That could be good, honestly. Defendant Matthew Farwell, a former Stoughton police officer, has been charged with killing Sandra Birchmore to prevent her from communicating information about his commission and possible commission of federal crimes. The government moves to detain Farwell pending trial because he is a danger to the community and poses a significant risk of flight and obstruction. The court is authorised to conduct a detention hearing and detain Farwell on each of those independent bases because Farwell has been charged with a crime of violence that carries a mandatory life sentence. First, there is a serious risk that if released, the defendant will obstruct or attempt to obstruct justice. That risk is not merely theoretical. On February 1, 2021, Farwell killed Birchmore, a young pregnant woman, whom he had spent years sexually exploiting. Farwell's grisly crime was designed to conceal forever the truth about his years of criminal conduct targeting Birchmore. Moreover, even apart from his murder of Birchmore, Farwell has tried to destroy and conceal evidence of his criminal conduct. Prior to her death, he instructed her to delete phone evidence of their sexual intercourse with her before her 16th birthday. After the murder, he researched how to delete data from his phone, and he took steps to conceal the murder, including by repositioning her lifeless body and staging her apartment to make the young woman's death appear to be a suicide, and lying to Massachusetts State Police detectives who were initially responsible for investigating her death. Second, his release would pose a profound danger to the community. He's been charged with intentional, premeditated murder of a young person he knew for years. He strangled her to death when he knew she was several weeks pregnant. He did so while he was a serving police officer and after using the position of trust and authority to groom and sexually exploit her for years, beginning when she was just 15 years old. He'll be in the protected wing, but you have to go to work sometime while in job areas aren't protected wings. Okay. Even without the graphic stuff, the vid timeline, her attitude to being pregnant, how she was found, no way it was self-inflicted. Oh, there's no way in hell it was a suicide. Not a chance. There were no conditions of release. There are no conditions of release that will protect the community from the defendant whose conduct reveals such an indifference to human life. Third, Farwell is a serious risk of non-appearance. He's described in detail below the murder following a report to Stoughton police that disclosed aspects of Farwell's illicit sexual relationship with Birchmore. With Farwell on notice that he could soon face consequences for his criminal conduct, he decided to kill Birchmore. Today, the potential consequences could hardly be more severe or imminent. Farwell faces a mandatory life sentence for killing her. The weight of the evidence is overwhelming. These circumstances provide him with significant disincentive to appear for trial. As such, there are no conditions that will reasonably assure he will appear at trial to face the evidence and consequences of his conduct. There's no way in hell that they should give bail. What, are you kidding me? Sorry, might be a second. Someone's got to be trolling me. I'll talk about it later because this is not really the appropriate time or place, but yeah. He's a cop who gets special treatment in jail? Probably. Okay. The government proffers the following facts in support of the motion to detain the defendant and submits the support declaration of, in support of the declaration, FBI Special Agent Shanae Castruda here in Exhibit A. 31-year-old defendant resides in northeastern Massachusetts with his spouse and children. Both he and his spouse possess licenses to carry firearms. There are 10 firearms registered at the home address. He served in the United States Army from 2004 to 2008. During that time, he served as an explosives expert. He became a sworn police officer in 2008, served from 2008 to 2012 as a police officer in the town of Wellesley, Massachusetts, and March 27 to 2012, he became a Stoughton police officer, a position he held until he resigned on April 1. While a member of the Stoughton Police Force, Police Department. I'm getting tired. No, I know it's not you, Stingy, but honestly, if I didn't know you otherwise, I would think it was you. Farwell also served as a firearms and explosive instructor. Prior to 2017, Stoughton Police Department operated the Stoughton Police Explorers Academy, a quasi-paramilitary program designed to expose young participants to various aspects of policing. Farwell was a volunteer for the program when he was a Wellesley police officer. After he joined the police department, Farwell became a police explorers instructor. In March 2010, Birchmore applied to be a participant in the Police Explorers. At the time, she was 12 years old. She began participating in the program in or around spring 2010. Farwell groomed and sexually exploited Birchmore when she was a child. As a police officer, he groomed and sexually exploited Birchmore when she was a child. As early as 2012, he began communicating with her online, including befriending her on Facebook. At the time, he was 26 years old and she was just 15. While using the internet to lay groundwork for his child's sexual exploitation, Farwell would also meet Birchmore at the Stoughton Public Library, where he would sexually groom her under the guise of providing academic tutoring. Ultimately, he engaged in sexual acts with Birchmore, violating the Massachusetts statutory rape law by having sexual intercourse with her in 2013, when she was 15. This act of statutory rape had several attendant aggravating factors, such as the age disparity between Farwell and Birchmore and Farwell's position of power and trust. He continued having sex with Birchmore until after she became an adult, and while he remained employed as a police officer. Building off the years of grooming, Farwell later cultivated a controlling and sometimes abusive relationship with Birchmore. He tracked her location with his cell phone, and as voluminous text messages demonstrate, he engaged in sexual violence. Farwell exploited Birchmore while on duty as an officer. At times, he met Birchmore to have sex with her while he was on duty and being paid by the town of Stoughton. Of course, these are facts that Farwell concealed from the Stoughton Police Department in an effort to continue receiving his salary, notwithstanding his misconduct. In December 2020, Farwell learned that he'd impregnated Birchmore. In October 2020, Birchmore told Farwell that she wanted a child of her own. Farwell and Birchmore reached an agreement. He would try to impregnate her in exchange for silence about his criminal conduct and years-long extramarital affair. In late December 2020, just a month before Birchmore died, she learned that she was pregnant. Birchmore told Farwell that he was the child's father, and Farwell responded poorly. He became physically violent. She told multiple friends that he pushed and shoved her, grabbed objects from her hands, and put her in a chokehold. In January 2021, Farwell learned the information about his years-long illicit sexual contact with Birchmore had been disclosed to the Stoughton Police Department and others. In January 21, he learned that despite her getting the pregnancy she wanted, he would not be able to control her or the information that she possessed about his crimes. On January 20, 2021, a friend of Birchmore's called Stoughton Police Department and disclosed information about the sexual contact with Birchmore. When a Stoughton Police Department employee told him about the call, Farwell again responded poorly. He angrily demanded that the employee never tell anyone about the information. By late January 21, text messages between Farwell and Birchmore revealed that Farwell was enraged by what he perceived as Birchmore not upholding her end of the pregnancy for silence agreement. Moreover, he had learned that Birchmore had shared with at least one other person some of the incriminating details about his sexual relationship with her, and that information had been disclosed to his employer, a law enforcement agency. In a text on January 20, 2021, he asked her, "What else do I have to worry about? Which other friend will do something tomorrow?" An allusion to his fear that she may disclose more information about his possible commission of federal crimes, coercion and enticement, deprivation of rights under colour of law, and wire fraud. On January 24, 2021, Farwell started to take steps to obstruct justice by killing Birchmore. He asked Birchmore for a key to her apartment after previously being reluctant to have one in his possession, that kind of tangible proof of their relationship. And he asked Birchmore to keep it a secret that she'd give him the key. On January 26, Farwell also started casing Birchmore's apartment, the future crime scene, searching for places to carry out the murder. He inspected her bathroom and closets, places where items could be hung. His behaviour was strange enough that Birchmore told multiple friends about it. On February 1, 2021, Farwell decided to act. For him, that day provided at least two advantages. A blizzard was approaching Greater Boston, ensuring no one would notice her absence from work for several days, and Farwell's wife was hours away delivering their third child. Therefore, Farwell texted Birchmore to tell her that he was coming over to her apartment. He entered the apartment wearing a face mask, despite being well known as resistant to COVID-19 mask mandates. And he murdered Birchmore, the 23-year-old pregnant woman he had exploited for years, by strangling her to death. Within minutes of silencing Birchmore, video surveillance footage shows him leaving the apartment. How much of this is just an overkill of what we already covered? Tell me no one knew about us, yet they claim we were fucking. You have no idea how bad what they did is. Literally can't believe this is even real. Each other friend will do something tomorrow. After killing Birchmore, he repositioned the body and staged her apartment to make it appear that she had committed suicide. After the murder, Farwell searched for ways to conceal his years-long relationship with Birchmore and his communications with her the day of. He gave limited consent to search his personal cell phone to law enforcement officers who were investigating the death. However, on February 9, 2021, he used his work cell phone to make and delete 2 Google searches. First, searching for can deleted iMessage be recovered by Cellbrite? Cellbrite is a tool that forensic examiners use to extract data from cell phones. He then searched and deleted can you revoke consent in Massachusetts? After the murder, he lied to the police detectives, which we know. Falsely told detectives that his sexual relationship with Birchmore began in 2020. Falsely told detectives that he only had sex with her 2 or 3 times in the previous year. Falsely told detectives that the last time they had sex was in October 2020. Told detectives that he had not seen Birchmore in the week before her death, which is obviously incorrect because we have that on camera. And he falsely told detectives that he was trying to distance himself from Birchmore. He has a long track record of using physical and sexual violence. Sorry, guys, I'm running through this quickly because I am just about out of it. I'm running low on steam. He's demonstrated a sexual interest in children. Oh, Jesus. Farwell is a danger to children. He committed statutory rape under Massachusetts law by having sex with Birchmore when she was 15. In text messages with Birchmore, he romanticizes the statutory rape by discussing the first time that they were going to have sex and his regret that they did not have sex earlier in 2012. And Farwell repeatedly disclosed to Birchmore his interest in having sex with children. By a message, he asked Birchmore to pretend that she was 13 or 14 when they were having sex. He also had Birchmore join his sexual role play in which he posed as her older brother and simulated non-consensual incest. I can't even with this fucker. He's a firearms and explosive expert. And we've got Bail Reform Act argument. Not particularly fussed about. The court should detain impending trial. He's a danger to the community. Runs a risk of obstruction because he still knows what to do. He's a flight risk. Based on the foregoing, the government has met its burden to show that no conditions of release will reasonably assure his appearance and safety of any person in the community or the integrity of this proceeding. Accordingly, the government requests that the court order the defendant detained pending trial. Government requests that if the court is inclined to release the defendant on conditions, it stay its order until such time to permit the government to file a motion for revocation of the order. Bloody hell.
A bombshell in the years-long investigation into what happened to Sandra Birchmore. This is video of former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell being arrested this morning in Revere by FBI SWAT officers.
He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder. And he almost did, until today.
According to the 45-page federal indictment unsealed today, Farwell allegedly killed Birchmore by strangulation on February 1st, 2021. Her death originally ruled as suicide by the state medical examiner. This indictment painting a graphic picture of the relationship between the two, who, according to court paperwork, met when Birchmore joined the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program. The indictment going on to say that Farwell groomed Birchmore and started allegedly sexually abusing her when she was 15 years old.
Our investigation also uncovered additional evidence that is inconsistent with someone choosing to die by suicide. In the hours leading up to Sandra's death, she reached out to a photographer to inquire about booking a newborn photo shoot. She also reached out to a friend about obtaining baby clothes.
As for what took so long, considering Birchmore was found dead in February 2021, the acting U.S. attorney saying federal investigators started looking into Birchmore's death about a year ago, uncovering critical new evidence and re-examining old evidence.
Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge did not grant him authority to violate the Constitution. And it certainly didn't entitle him to sexually exploit, abuse, and rape a child before killing her and her unborn baby in an attempt to cover up his alleged crimes.
Was that? Because otherwise it's going to start play. Oh, you know what? I'm going to just close it. Excuse me. All right, that's the website about the cases. Crimetimelines.com. Can I just say, amazing website that just lays all the information out, and they cover various different things. Like they've got the Harley Montgomery case, which I need to finish doing the rewatch of. That's the complaint for the wrongful death suit. Fine, I don't need that right at the second. It's the reports that are redacted. Oh, yes, this. That is Officer Tully leaving the court after finding out that shit that Farwell had been arrested. That's Tully and Fanning, I should say. John Fanning and Brian Tully exit the courthouse after the arraignment. So, interesting that two of the individuals that were also related to the Reed case just happened to be there as a show of support, shall we say. That's about everything that I had for the moment. Yeah, that's the stuff about. That is the 358-page complaint for the wrongful death suit, which we've been through before for the most part, so I'm not going to go over it again. This is obviously a horrific case, and as someone mentioned before, it's federal, so we're not going to get to watch it, which I think might actually be for the best, frankly. So as long as justice is seen to be done, I'm okay with it in this instance. And if it comes out that, 6 months after he's convicted, he stops breathing, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I personally feel like there is more than sufficient evidence against him, and that's with me being someone that constantly says that a defendant that deserves every benefit of the doubt. There's more than enough that I feel like it's beyond reasonable doubt that he ended her life. Do I think that some of the things she did was stupid? Yes. Do I think that in any way removes her right to live on this earth and raise her child? No, I don't. So, guys, there's probably going to be more for me to go over. It's purely just I am running on fumes and I can't continue to provide any sort of intelligent or even intelligible commentary. So I'm going to hit the hay. But you know what? What the hell? I'm going to end on something that I think is either a trolling or is someone having a laugh, I guess. Maybe. Because if it's legit, I've got questions. Someone left a comment on one of the videos that I put out a while ago. And when I say a while ago, I mean like years. No, I don't actually want to open it. I just want to view the commentary. Okay? So for those of you that don't know, about a year ago, when I was doing certain segments, I did a reaction to the Storyfire story about dolphinsex.org. And I just saw that this came through. And I can't tell if this is someone trolling or not because they've got 307 subscribers. Oh, hang on, too far. I need to actually be able to show the commentary. This is the comment that they just left. Your apparent disgust at my behavior is exceeded only by your contempt for my sexuality. Wake up. Other animals evolved to give and get consent for sex. It's called courtship in 6th grade biology. And dolphins aren't animals in the same sense that we are not animals, we are, because they are capable of thinking in advance and making plans. This is someone allegedly making an argument that it's okay to grape a dolphin. It has to be a troll. It has to be. Otherwise, someone should really be checking that guy's closet. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here and get some sleep. As always, people, please remember you're not a piece of shit. You have value and you do contribute to society, especially for being here. And as always, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Peace out, peeps.
This shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Oh my fucking god, it's not a troll. It was Malcolm Brenner, aka Malcolm J. Brenner, author of Wet Goddess, Recollections of a Dolphin Lover. He has videos on his YouTube page about swimming with dolphins. And thank God the website for his book cannot be reached. Oh my god! I can't even remember the contents of that video. If that's legitimately the guy that the story was about, I'm gonna lose my shit, but I'm gonna have to look at that later. Anyway, peace out, peeps. Holy fuck.
In Melbourne town, where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind.